95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Corcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Doms, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
To go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
See just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons. Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Velocity Racing League Cup Series. My name is Mason Heimbaugh, joined alongside me, Gareth McAllister here with Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here today, 1080p 60 frames a second, as we get ourselves ready for the Charlotte 500 here today in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Gareth, it's going to be, I think, an exciting race here today as drivers get themselves geared up for qualifying here at the moment. And I mean, Gareth, what do you expect to see here in today's also first crown jewel race of the season, where drivers are going to be competing for, if they win today's race and they're not a crown jewel driver, they walk away with an extra $50, but if they are a crown jewel driver, they walk away with $100. So there is something on the line here for every driver here tonight. And Gareth, I mean, we were talking about it a little bit before the start of today's broadcast and just what we could expect to see here. And I also got a little bit of a word in with Tony Hillbrands before the start of the show here. But Gareth, what do you expect to see here today?
Well, first of all, hello, Mason, and g'day to everyone in chat. You don't get a g'day, Mason. You just get a hello. Nah, that's all good. Yeah, no, I think we're in for quite a doozy here tonight. We got 334 laps. It's going to be quite a long race indeed. And yeah, crown jewel, like you said, here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it's gonna be good. I genuinely think it's gonna be a great race, and I'm really excited to see that you know, everyone gets a payout. So last year, I believe that the rules were you get $100 if you are, or $100, I should say. Let's sound semi-professional up in the booth. $100 for the winner for only, or was it the top? Maybe it was only the top finisher. I can't exactly remember, but it's of the crown jewel drivers. Whereas this season, we're going to have a $50 payout to anyone who wins this race, plus an extra 50 if they happen to be the crown jewel driver. So that is exciting to see, and it really means that, you know, you're not just coming out here to be a pretty face out on track. You're also coming out here for a bit of money as well. So that is going to be great to see, and I believe we're going to have a lot of competition due to that fact as well.
I certainly agree. And for you folks at home who might be wondering, who are the crown jewel drivers, who are the 5 to look out for? And those 5 drivers are going to be Tony Hillbrands, Howie Briss, Sean Williams, James Coulibaly, and Nicholas Corcel. These 5 drivers are all going to have the yellow banner as well as the wing on their cars here tonight to indicate that they are one of the crown jewel drivers. James Coulibaly here, the number 22 machine, we can also see having that yellow banner as well. So with that in mind here, you know, 500 miles that we expect to see here at Charlotte, the first full-length race of the season that we're going to have here for Velocity Racing League. And I think James just blew the engine. in the 22 machine. I think I heard something. I definitely heard something coming from that car.
That's not exactly ideal, is it?
No,
I
certainly
mean,
not.
you kind of need that. I feel like his garage team is gonna be pretty upset with him there, and they're gonna have to find a pretty replacement engine pretty quick. But thankfully, these garages are pretty well equipped. They're gonna be able to get something ready for him, I'm sure. But still, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it most certainly is, especially here in qualifying. But this is going to wrap up qualifying as we have just about 30 seconds left. All of our drivers have completed their laps here today, and up at the top of the poll at the moment, Jaden Hopp, the number 81 machine, the three-time back-to-back winner here in the VRL Cup Series. Coming in today, qualifying at the top of the grid with Nathan Gutierrez, the 07 driver with a 29.82, just a hundredth of a second separating these two drivers at this moment. And excuse me, my words are not coming out the way that I would like them to at the moment. But Aaron Smith locking in third place here on the pole at the moment. So drivers are going to go ahead and get themselves lined up on the starting grid here, and we're going to go ahead and run through the field. And Gareth, how about we split things right down the middle here, roughly the middle. I'll take the top 10, and we'll round up the fields from there. Jaden Hopp and Nathan Gutierrez going to be up in the front row, with Aaron Smith and Tony Hilbrands taking the second row. Scott Shire, Howie Briss in our third row. Sean Williams and Logan Jones in the fourth row, with Michael Keithley and Nicholas Corcel taking up the fifth row.
Yeah, the sixth row, we're going to have Charles Jurek and James Koulibaly. Matthew Fitz and Benjamin Lacey are going to be starting in our seventh row. Eighth row, Patrick Colby, almost said Koulibaly once again. Michael Ashmore as well alongside, and Thomas Sewell and Howie Dietre are going to be in our ninth row, and that's going to round out our grid for the night. So, you know, not as many drivers as we were potentially expecting. Was hoping for around an even number 20, but 18 drivers, still going to be plenty of action out on the track. And you know what's great as well is that we're not going to have to pan through the tower. We're going to be able to show you every single position all of the time, I believe, as it cuts off. Oh no, it might cut off the bottom five. I can't remember now. It's been a while. But happy birthday, Jaden. Lindsay coming in, letting us know that Jaden had his 20th birthday yesterday. And Dawn as well, as usual, those two coming in. Ashmore as well, Mike Ashmore telling us 500 miles to buckle up and get ready for a long one. This is on the YouTube chat, by the way. Very thankful to everyone tuning in and talking to us as well up here in the booth. We can read everything you say, and it will be a fantastic one. I also saw that Dawn let me know that she has sent Sour Patch, so they are coming my way. Unfortunately, I won't be able to tell you my experience during this Crown Jewel race, but I'm sure we'll get them getting ready to eat, I guess. I don't know how better way to say that, but hopefully they'll get shipped to me not too long, and I can open them up on broadcast maybe next week, and hopefully it gets here that quick, if not the week after.
Yeah, and speaking of next week, we head back to road course racing, where we will see Road Atlanta on the schedule for 250 miles at, 154 miles, 250 kilometers. I forget that we do the kilometer exchange there when we head to the road courses. But anyhow, coming down the back straightaway here at Charlotte Motor Speedway as we gear up for the pace truck to make its way down into pit road and get ourselves ready for the opening laps here at Charlotte for the Charlotte 500. Again, the very first full-length race of the VRL 2023 Cup Series. And as I'm taking a look at things, it looks like we're going to have at least, I think, one more lap around here, one more pace lap around before we take things green here. But, Gareth, I mean, with an exciting race here at Charlotte, a full 3 hours, roughly, that we'll expect drivers to be behind the wheel here tonight. Looking forward into next week's race, where we go back to road course racing, where the last time we were at a road course was Sebring and that was for the second race of the season here. So kind of a mixed bag of races that we've seen here already in the first opening weeks, the first not even 10 races of the season, and it's already seen drivers going through a lot of disciplines here in motorsport.
Oh yeah, and we love to see it. You know, I was having a discussion with some of the drivers from basically this series pretty much, and they were telling me that, you know, NASCAR goes to, well, not just NASCAR, well, I mean, yeah, NASCAR in general goes to more disciplines on the racetrack than any other series of competition really for motorsports. I mean, when you think about it, they do short track ovals, they do big long ovals, they do dirt, they do road courses, they do everything. And what's great is that this particular championship, this league, this series at the Velocity Racing League, they go to just about as many, if not more so, and more often. So it's great to see, and I love watching the different disciplines, and especially the road course. Road Atlanta is one of my favorite road courses out there, and I'm very much looking forward to see how they handle these machines on that one.
Absolutely, and as we see the pace truck make its way down into pit road, and we see the green flag go up in the flag stand, and down it goes here for the first time for the first mile out of 500 miles that we'll see here at Charlotte, as Jaden Hopp leads the field off into turn number 1 and takes it too wide with Nathan Gutierrez up on the high side. Aaron Smith trying to close in behind in 3rd place. Tony Hilbrand's in 4th with Howie Briss in 5th. All single file for the most part up here in the top 5, but Nathan gonna take the outside lane here up into 1st place with Jaden Hopp still on the inside just behind the 07 machine. The recently turned Jaden recently turning 20 here. In fact, yesterday was his birthday here, coming here today and looking to secure what I think might be a potential 4th win here. But this is really going to challenge not just Jaden, but every driver here on this racetrack right now, because this is 334 laps, 500 miles that we are going to see here today, and it's just going to test everyone's ability for long run speed and just so much more here tonight, Gareth. Looking at last year's race, the Charlotte 250, you can kind of make your own assumptions if you want, but it is double what we saw last year from what we're seeing here tonight. So definitely a lot to look out for here, Gareth.
Oh, there's honestly going to be so much going on, and Tony Hilbrand's now working on the back bumper of the mean yellow banana. Aaron Smith just up front, but yeah, you know, and just for anyone watching at home, this is a 1.5 mile track. Their pit speed is around about 30 miles an hour, so they've got a long way to slow down so that they can get into pit road safely, as well as the fuel window being 40 to 45 laps, which means we're in for quite a number of pit stops and 11 sets of tires behind the wall. So if they need to pit stop for tires all day, every day, they definitely have enough behind pit wall for them tonight.
Yeah, and I think some drivers are going to need those tires here tonight because, I mean, Charlotte, while it's not exactly the most aggressive track that we have on the schedule here as far as tires are concerned, but this is a brand new car for a lot of these drivers. I mean, we're still only a couple weeks into the Gen 4 being released here on the iRacing service. So, I mean, some drivers here, they may have not even put a lot of practice into these cars in general, or onto this track with this car combo, whatever the case might be. Some drivers may have put in many hours. Some drivers may have only shown up for practice here and put in a couple laps. Whatever you know, the spectrum is wide and far when it comes to those sorts of things here, as we're going too wide with Michael Keithley, Scott Shire right door to door with one another. Charles Jurek, James Coulibaly also getting into the mix here towards the midfield. This is the battle for 8th place, with Scott Shire taking a lead in this little bit of a pack battle that we have developing as we come out of turn 2 and onto the back straightaway. Coulibaly now going to be door to door with Keithley as we go through 3 and 4.
Yeah, he's taken that position away pretty demandingly, and I think Keithley is just trying to get something dialed in on the high side. Potentially understood what Nathan Gutierrez did up front with going on real high and making that stick. So trying something different. I'm not sure it's going to work though, as Charles Jurek looks to the inside, and it looks like he's going to take that spot away as well. But definitely a lot of battles going on here, a little bit further down in the pack. I believe we're fighting right now for the 10th place spot. So it could be interesting. I thought Charles Jurek had that 1-1, but Michael Keithley proved me wrong. So good on him, as he's actually maintained his 10th place position there, as Benjamin Lacey now looks to the inside of Charles Jurek himself. So potentially that outside line better than I thought.
Yeah, the outside line here, I mean, we're going to see pretty much this two-lane sort of traffic here throughout this race here today. And what we really got to look out for, I think, Gareth, is this right here. This is exactly what we've got to look out for, is these small packs that start to form over the course of this race here today, because drivers will get spread out over time here on this track, but it's very easy to get collected up in a pack and really build up some momentum and get some speed built up here, as we're seeing with Aaron Smith, Howie Briss, and Tony Hillbrands. Howie and Tony are both competing as Crown Jewel drivers, as indicated by the yellow banners in their windows, as well as their fender and their tail, their wing in the back. So these drivers are all both competing for that $100 to take home for the win here. But Nathan Gutierrez, the 07 driver, I mean, he is just on fire here, Gareth. This guy is almost 2 seconds away from the rest of the field and doesn't even seem to be breaking a sweat here. What I am curious about, though, Gareth, is what his tires are looking like. How aggressively is he taking these turns?
Yeah, he seems to have appeared almost out of nowhere overnight, and it's very interesting to see how well he's been able to do in the series so far. But like you said, it's gonna be development we've got to keep an eye on, as the tire wear is certainly going to play a role, as it does so often, especially with these high-powered machines. As you could see, Tony Hillbrands make his way around Howie Briss, but Briss tries to fire back. Tony gets a little bit of apron just there, a little bit of wall as well. Unbelievable car control as he keeps it underneath him and also keeps the position ahead of Howie Briss. Fantastic driving there from Tony Hillbrands.
Yeah, Tony doing a phenomenal job here tonight, as indicated by the Phenom Paint Shop scheme there on the number 92 machine. And I gotta say, I love the colors that he's brought out here tonight for the Charlotte 500. And frankly, a lot of these drivers have brought out some really great looking cars here tonight. So great to see the drivers spicing things up here for tonight's race for the first Crown Jewel of the season. Love to see it. Drivers bringing out old paint schemes or just revamped ones, whatever the case might be. Just drivers showing their creativity, so on and so forth. But taking a little bit of a ride on board with Howie Briss in the number 97 machine there for just a moment. Seeing what's happening there with the battle for fourth place, as he's going to lock in with the 92 driver, Tony Hillbrands, in. Frankly, just kind of click off laps here. Howie is a very patient driver. We've seen it in the 2022 season. The current champion, the reigning champion, is not exactly someone who's going to be scrapping for positions, going door to door with people, trying to bang and beat their way up to the top. Howie is a very experienced veteran when it comes to being behind the wheel of these cars. So I don't expect Howie to be there, trying to fight Tony tooth and nail, especially when it's only lap 16 of 334. It's going to be a long race, and there's going to be plenty of fighting to happen later throughout the race here. So not expecting to see much to happen in regards of Howie putting up a fight here, but I do expect to see some fighting happening in the midfield and beyond, as we're seeing that with Matthew Fitz and Patrick Colby as they come down the back straightaway heading into turns 3 and 4. The number 9 machine just kind of trailing behind the 6-9 as trying to make his way down to the bottom lane and build up some momentum here, almost getting to the tail of the 6-9 machine as they come across the line and back into turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, it was really interesting actually. What I'm seeing is, I'm seeing, like you said, a lot of like little small car packs, maybe 2 or 3 cars with a little bit of a gap between all of them. But the real interesting thing is that they seem to be using that draft almost to their full advantage. Like when they get really close together and they're really in a tight pack, then they can seem to use that draft to their advantage and catch up to potentially a lone car by themselves out front, which is what we're seeing right here with Scott Shire and Benjamin Lacey, just trying to catch up to Logan Jones just ahead. Charles Jurek there right behind them as well. So if this 3-car grid can really get together, I say that as Benjamin Lacey looks to the inside of Scott Shire. Maybe no working together necessary, as Lacey is going to try and make that move and does so. Look at the speed. Lacey's able to carry around mid-corner, excuse me. That is absolutely phenomenal driving so far.
Great work here from Lacey. And speaking of Lacey, currently the highest mover and shaker on the field by far, having moved up 6 positions from where he started tonight in 14th. So Benjamin Lacey, definitely a man on a mission here in that 7 Mopar machine. And also, I can't read what the other sponsor is on the front of that car. Filming the Wild. I believe that's actually a, if I'm not mistaken, Gareth, you might have to do some investigation here on my behalf here, but I believe that's a YouTube channel that he's sponsoring there on the number 7 machine. I could be wrong there.
Yeah, no, I distinctly remember. I'm pretty sure we talked to him a couple of interviews ago, and he was actually mentioning to us that Filming the Wild is a YouTube channel that basically they show you what it's like filming for all these documentaries and all that sort of stuff when they go behind the scenes and basically show you how it's done and all that stuff. It's actually really interesting. I myself haven't watched as much as I would like to, if I'm honest, but it's actually really quite interesting, so definitely check that out if you love animals especially, and if you're interested in filmmaking as well. It's a good one to watch, that's for sure, as he's actually taken that position away into the 7th spot now, with Logan Jones a little bit high up on the racetrack and Scott Shire coming in to try and take that spot away as well. So we'll see if that 4 can get underneath that 75 here in just a moment.
Yeah, Shire looking to see if he can secure himself another position as himself has dropped down 4 spots here over the course of the 22 laps that we've seen here. And, you know, this is, again, like I mentioned towards the beginning of the broadcast, this is going to be a test of drivers' long-run speeds here tonight. Short-run speeds are not going to save you in this sort of race. I mean, maybe if it was, I gotta stop myself from saying it because I can't contribute to Gareth. You know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I pray that we don't find out later. But so far, everything is calm, everything is steady on the racetrack, and I'm seeing some drivers a little loose here and there, but nothing that's really of concern at this point. We're still very early into this race here, and I believe if I had to go back and check my race notes here, I know you already mentioned it, Garrett, but
40 to 45 laps of fuel runs, so we're about halfway, a little bit over halfway for fuel. I don't think we have a specific tire wear number, but it's definitely going to be something to watch. Whether that's exactly what you were looking for or not, I'm not entirely sure. But I will say that Logan Jones in the 75 machine seems to be, from what I can work out so far, the loosest car on track. He's been fighting the back end of that one for the last few laps here, as we see Matthew Fitz in a duel with Nicholas Corcel. Corcel looks like he's not running the Sour Patch paint scheme that we're so used to seeing, so a little bit disappointed.
Oh, it is. It is.
Oh, he's got it. Yeah, it's just I'm so used to the black paint scheme. I wasn't ready for this one.
You know, actually, I'm kind of a big fan of this color scheme. I think that's nice. A nice little yellow-green gradient. I think that looks good. That's, you know, it stands out on track. And Gareth, I just hope it makes you even more excited for when you actually get that package in the mail and open it up for the first time, and you finally get a chance to experience really a keystone in my childhood, a staple in my childhood. in a vague sense, if you will. It was definitely one of my top candies growing up, and still is today. If there's any sort of candy that and let me iterate this. I'm not a big candy guy myself, but I'm going to interrupt myself as we've got a battle for the lead. Jaden Hopp up in the front of the field, now closing in on the 07 driver of Anathian Gutierrez as we go into turns 3 and 4. Jaden Hopp going to take it down onto the inside as they come out of turn 4. Almost going to be door-to-door between these two drivers as they come across the checkered line here. Back into turn 1. Hopp is going to have the lead here as they go into turn 1. Hopp with the bottom line advantage here, but Anathian with some very impressive speed and momentum coming out of turn 2 onto the back straightaway. A little bit of a wobble there from the 07 driver as Aaron Smith gets right up to the tail of Anathian here. Jaden Hopp secures the lead for himself on lap 28 of a 500-mile race here. Gareth, this was some incredible racing here that we had here for Jaden Hopp and Anathian.
Oh, absolutely. I was really worried that Anathian and Aaron Smith were going to get together when they got down that backstretch. It was very, very close indeed. But Aaron checked up and made sure that they didn't come into contact, which is great stuff to see. But yeah, you know, Anathian Gutierrez, I think he's burned up his tires a little bit quicker than he probably expected to do, and that's really what happened there. Jaden Hopp, as we know, has always been a master of saving tires, and on the long run been a very fast car. He's won our last 3 races as well, so certainly knows how to get it done here, and showing an example of his prowess on the long run just there. But yeah, I think Anathian has just burned up his rear tires a little bit quicker than he expected as we go back to look at a battle a little bit further down in the pack at the moment, and that is going to be, I believe that's going to be Colby. He goes for a little bit of a ride down to the low side there, but thankfully gets it caught up underneath him. So he's currently in the 12th position, right underneath Michael Keithley there, with Nicholas Corsell looking on just behind as well.
Oh, and they are getting mighty bold out there, getting side by side with one another, and you can see how loose these race cars are starting to feel for these drivers as they are entering into the later stage of their stints with these tires and their fuel here for the opening stage of this race here today, as Patrick Colby going to get a little bit of air between himself and Nicholas Corsell and Michael Keithley. Corsell going to have a good run on the inside, going to get himself up into 12th ahead of Keithley, as Keithley's going to fall back just a little bit here, and it looks like Corsell looking to get on to the inside of Patrick Colby, and he looks to be doing so here as they make their way through 1 and 2 and out onto the back straightaway. But Colby showing that middle lane still has some pretty decent exit speed, even though it doesn't necessarily seem like the best option, or at least the most apparent option when you're going around the track, or at least up here in the booth, it doesn't seem like the best way to take it around the track. But hey, these drivers know best. I simply just make words come out of my face. So.
Out of your face? That's an interesting one. I don't know how you managed to do that. That's pretty incredible. That must be some sort of psychic power that I haven't learned or unlocked with my leveling up. But you know, Mason, it's pretty good. But you know, we're still watching, and you can definitely see tire wear playing a huge factor right now. And Corsell has been working his way up through the field slowly but surely over this long run as well. I've been very impressed with how Corsell's been able to make his way through, and I'm not just saying that because I'm kind of desperate for my Sour Patch, which has been shipped to me late. Thank you, Dawn. But you know, could have had it for this week, but no. You know, no. But it's it is great, and you know, Lindsay also coming in saying that she's loving the schemes, and I'm loving it too. You know, there's a lot of bright colors out there, as it looks like Sean Williams was passing Tony Hilbrands as well for the 5th place spot a little bit further up the track. So, you know, there's battles going on all over the place, and it looks like Tony may be wearing out as well in the 6th place position, because he's one of those drivers, as we always mention, he's very strong on the short runs. We saw an example of that, but just unfortunately, usually not doing incredibly well on the long runs, burning up the tires a little bit quicker as we can see, one car just went all the way around so quickly. I wonder if that's going to be Howie
That's
D-Tray, because
gotta be
Howie
Howie.
D-Tray,
Gotta
he
be
has come
Howie.
down. Yeah, he came down at lap 24, and he is absolutely ripping it through the field at the moment. So showing an example of just the difference between cold tires, well, I shouldn't say cold tires, but new tires and the old, as you can just see how much more speed he carries through the corner. And Howie Briss, mind you, that he's just passed there, was certainly not slacking on the throttle either just then. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see when these green flags occur, considering green flag pit stops, excuse me, occur, because yeah, it should be happening. We should be having a green flag stop at the end of our fuel run in less than 10 laps. So that's something to look forward to as well.
Yeah, this is going to be the first start of, well, the first opportunity for drivers to start to make their way down into pit road. I mean, really haven't seen anyone make that move quite yet. Still waiting to see if there will be a driver who wants to, I mean, kick things off a little bit earlier here. I really don't expect anyone to make that sort of move here this early in the race. I don't expect to see any sort of undercuts or anything like that. I think it's pretty much going to be take it as far as you can go, come down into the pits, grab your tires, grab your fuel, save your true strategy, if quote unquote, if you will, for the end of the race. Save it for the last pit stop of the race, where it really comes down to the wire, and it's going to be crucial that you are paying attention to the rest of the field and what their pace is and how they're doing on tires, how they're doing on fuel. I mean, obviously, you're only one driver. You can't, feasibly look at all of those things by yourself, but if you're, in that second or third place spot or fourth place spot, whatever position you're in, there's a driver ahead of you that you want to get around. You have to strategize. You have to start thinking about what you can do to cut off those 10, 5, 6 seconds that you need to get up to them and put on a fight for yourself. But Gareth, I think there's only a few laps left before that happen here, and looking at things at the moment here, it's surprising just how calm and quiet things are at the moment. And looking at last year's race, Gareth, you won't believe this. Maybe you will. But guess who was on the podium for the Charlotte 250 last year?
Oh man, I gotta be honest, Mason. You're putting me under the spotlight here, because you're making me guess who was on the podium.
Oh, well, I'll give you a hint.
That I'm showing favoritism to a driver. I can't do that.
I'll give you a hint. They're currently in the top 3 right now.
Oh, was it Hop?
Indeed, it was.
Ah, I got you.
So Hop
I'm not surprised by that at all, because Hop's been showing. I mean, he's showing a lot more performance this season than he has last season, which is incredible. So, I mean, that just goes to show once again, as Nathan Gutierrez has come down pit road and panned the camera. Perfect timing. Thank you, Mason. As Nathan Gutierrez takes it into pit road from the 3rd place spot. Matthew Fitz joining him. Logan Jones has come by as well. So starting to have those green flag stops, as we said, 40 to 45 laps. We are on lap 43 at the moment. So we are fully expecting that this cycle will be coming through pretty quick. And that means that most of the drivers will be very, very similar on the tires that they have, but no one else seeming to pit right now. So maybe staying out for as long as possible, probably until the end of the fuel run. We do have 11 sets of tires. Just to remind everyone, there are way more tires than necessary in the pit lane, just in case. So that is good to know. Well, I say way more. There's probably a good 3 or 4 sets extra that we don't need, unless we have some cautions, of course. You never know what could be thrown into the mix. So it's always nice to have those drivers deciding what they want to do. And you can see a car splitting 3 wide as Howie Briss and Tony Hilbrands come into pit road as well.
It is getting mighty busy down in pit road here, and The one thing that we really haven't talked about here yet, Gareth, is the fact that pit road here is quite the treacherous task to get down into here. It's a very, very difficult area to where it's located outside of turn 4. I'm sure we'll have drivers talking about this once post-race interviews come around, but if we ask that question, you don't really have the luxury of an easy pit road entry, if you will, here at Charlotte. It is a very difficult. We can try and take a look here from the blimp camera. So theoretically, watching Coruscant coming out of turn 4 here, you would come down into pit road right about where he's coming in right now, and you have to slow that car down from. Drivers are going about 180 miles an hour or more. Granted, through turns 3 and 4, you're probably going down to about 150, 160, but you're going from 160 all the way down to, I think, pit road speed here is 50 or 55 miles an hour. And also, to make things even more difficult for yourself, if things didn't already sound complicated enough for you, you don't exactly... If you're a hardcore sim racer, and I say that jokingly, if you're a hardcore sim racer and you don't have any HUD assistance or anything like that, if you don't have your miles per hour being displayed to you, it is very easy to speed in pit road. Let me tell you, it is very, very easy to overshoot that pit road speed limit and give yourself a speeding penalty and ruin your day and your race. And things just don't go well. But Gareth, I mean, I'm not sure how much oval racing experience that you have yourself, but I mean, it's definitely a very different dynamic from the road course racing.
Oh, absolutely. I would like to point out that Sean Williams came down to pits a second time the lap after he came in the first time. So I'm curious as to see why that is the case, but I have an idea, and the idea may be to do with iRacing just recently, when they released the Gen 4 Cup car, I believe, which is what this series runs now, they released an auto-fueling system, which is supposed to fuel the car, as it says, basically, it's supposed to fuel the car automatically depending on what you select, so that you don't have to scroll through menu upon menu to try and organize it yourself, as a lot of these drivers don't have a crew chief. They just have themselves in the car and they've got to do everything themselves, which is a lot of work to do while you're trying to drive, especially around traffic at these speeds. But yeah, they released this auto fuel feature, and like I discovered only a few days ago, it doesn't always work for some reason I cannot explain. Even if you have the auto fuel feature on, sometimes it just decides that it doesn't want to fuel your car for reasons I don't understand. So that is incredibly infuriating, and I hope that that did not happen to Sean Williams there. But I think that that might be the case, as he came down a second time. But like you were saying earlier, just going to answer you real quick as well, as we watch the battle here between Nicholas Corcel and Charles Jurek just behind, that the pit lane limiter, as you would. So on a road course, a lot of the cars that are racing on there, your GT3s and your IMSA series cars and your Formula Ones and all that kind of stuff, all that jazz, they all have almost like a nanny limiter. That's what I'm going to describe it here, because we're the big boys in the oval racing. And they have a little button that they can press when they come down to pit road, which basically means that they will never speed. That's the pit lane speed. They get to that point, they just keep the car on full throttle, and the ECU does the work for them. Whereas in these machines, on the ovals, they've banned those. You're not allowed to do them. You're not allowed to use them, and so you have to manage your throttle pressure yourself to make sure you don't speed down pit lane. And it's actually quite difficult when you want to get on and off pit road as quick as possible without getting a penalty. So we're the big boys down here in the oval series, and these guys know how to get it done.
Yeah, it's honestly impressive to see how some of these drivers execute their pit stops. I mean, Obviously, if you've been around the Team Goon Squad channel long enough, you've watched enough of our broadcasts, you'll definitely have seen drivers making mistakes coming in through pit road, and I'm more than certain that we've probably seen some mistakes last year at this same very track when it was that time. But so far, no one has made any major mistakes here that I'm at least aware of. We've had Thomas Sewell has already dropped out of the race here on lap 47, and I'm more than certain that some drivers here are just not going to want to stick around for a full 334 laps here. It is definitely a long time to be in the sim rig for any driver of any caliber. That's basically, fun fact, that is actually the same amount of time that our Team Goon Squad Endurance Series races usually go for. With the exception of, I believe the Nürburgring is going to be a 5-hour race, which will be quite exciting in of itself. But that's neither here nor there. It's just a testament to these drivers and their abilities behind the wheel and just what they're capable of. I've tried myself to, be in longer races, and let me tell you, I still need a lot of work, but one day I'll get there.
Oh, Mason, and but the thing as well with the endurance races, like you say, is that the endurance races that we host, they're always on road courses. So in my opinion anyway, and I know this differs from person to person, but in my opinion, when you're on a road course, there's more to focus on. So like you turn left, you turn right, oh, this corner's different to that one, blah 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 blah. Especially with multi-class, you've got cars going all over the place and everyone's different speeds and everything. So you've got more to focus your brain. And what I mean by that is when you're in NASCAR and you do, or like these oval cars, this oval series, for example, and you're going around this oval lap after lap after lap, it almost gets monotonous. And what happens is your brain kind of goes, okay, so we're going to keep going. We're going to turn left and we're going to turn left, and we're going to do this, okay, this lap, and I remember this, and you get complacent. And the thing is that you just get used to driving the way that you think, and ever so slightly, it's like Chinese whispers. I don't know if you can call it that anymore, but we used to call that when we grew up. I think it's called telephone or something now. But basically, you talk to someone, and then they talk to someone, and every so often, like a word or a slight bit of phrase will get lost as it gets down the line from person to person. And that's exactly what happens in oval racing when you do an oval for so long. If you're not able to focus, which it's so hard to do for multiple hours at a time, you can just get into a rhythm, and the rhythm slightly changes and you don't even notice. And then, you'll find yourself completely out of the line and hitting the throttle a little bit harder than you expected or wanted to, or whatever else, and spinning that car around or hitting the wall. So I genuinely think that it's much more challenging to do a long race on an oval circuit.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there, Gareth, because, I've experienced exactly what you're talking about. You get into that state of mind where it's just, okay, I feel comfortable, I feel good running these laps, and then, 10, 15 laps go by, you start to realize, wait a second, I'm starting to have drivers catch up to me, my pace is off, and it's, I'm not exactly the best driver in the world. If anyone has seen my iRating lately, you will know exactly what I mean, but that's neither here nor there, but the point being is that being behind the wheel for that long, you really have to be able to keep yourself in the zone. You have to be able to keep yourself focused for these 334 laps that we are going to see here. And a lot of people don't exactly have that ability to do that. A lot of drivers that, myself, I can include myself in that category, at least at the moment. I can't focus for that long without finding myself wandering mentally. You start to daydream a little bit behind the wheel because you start to get into autopilot, if you will, in a sense. So a lot of different things that these drivers have to find ways to mitigate themselves and figure out solutions for. As Charles Jurek is starting to close in onto the tail of the number 45 of Nicholas Coruscant here as they come across the line and through turns 1 and 2. And now that we are about 20 laps into this next stint here, about halfway, actually, as it kind of would seem here, almost halfway. I'd say probably another 5 more laps, and it'll be pretty much halfway for this next set of tires at the moment. But, I mean, Michael Ashmore, the first driver that's going to have a little bit of a moment here, and it looks like Michael Ashmore has already taken himself down into...
Oh.
We're going to have to back this one up here. Oh, you know what? I think I know what happened here, Gareth. I think this is a mechanical failure. This is definitely a wheel failure.
Pretty solid, and then...
Look at that.
It just cut a left all of a sudden, like, real hard. You could see the wheel really... Yeah, Michael Ashmore coming into the YouTube side of things, saying that his wheel disconnected.
Wow.
So,
that is such a huge
I feel for you,
bummer.
Mike. I feel for you. That's brutal. A lot of these drivers are going to be very happy to see that, by the way. But I feel for you for sure. That's never a thing you want happen, and sadly happens a bit more often than you'd think. So yeah, unfortunate there. Dawn Hillbrand's also saying that she couldn't drive 3 hours without a beer, and I'm kind of with her on that one. I'm not going to lie, I shouldn't be saying this on broadcast if I'm honest. But Mason, when we do those long races, I may have a tiny bit of a drink next to my monitor, but you didn't hear that from me, so...
Well, you know, and that's the lovely thing about sim racing, and my philosophy has always been, as long as you're not being a nuisance to other drivers and being belligerent, you know, and, you know, ultimately, don't drink and drive, whether it's sim racing or real life, obviously, but that's the beauty of sim racing. You're not driving a real car, you're not risking other people's lives and things of that nature. So having yourself you know, a brewski next to you and just sipping on that during a long race such as this one, I don't think is going to hurt anyone's feelings. So but Gareth, as we are Michael Ashmore coming in saying Alt F4 to not kill everyone in the field, and that is Michael, if you're still listening, we appreciate the sportsmanship up here in the broadcasting booth. That you know, that's
legend status right there.
A very quick reaction on your part to, you know, find a way to get the car off track without hurting anyone else's race for the most part. Very good sportsmanship from your part, and I'm just bummed for him at this point. That's I'd be upset. I would be definitely fuming, I think, if I was Michael right now.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, obviously I can't speak for you, but I know I would be. I'd be very annoyed. Let's say very annoyed.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. But at the end of all of this, look who's found himself back up front. So it'll be interesting. Nathan Gutierrez is up front right now behind the pace truck. And what's going to be interesting is, has he learned from the fact that he chewed up his tires a lot quicker than he expected to in the first run? And will he take it a little bit easier after this caution to try and match the pace of Jaden Hopp to save those tires as much as possible? Or will he continue to go around the track as fast as possible and maybe open up a gap big enough to the point where he can stay in the lead when the cycle comes back through to pits once again? So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to keep himself out in front, or whether he backs off a little bit, lets Jaden Hopp in front, and just tries to follow Jaden around and try and learn a thing or two.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that here as well. I mean, we've seen what a Nathan can do on the short run speed here at Charlotte. It definitely seemed about 20 laps into the run is where we started to see the fall off happen here for a Nathan, and we saw Jaden Hopp as well as Aaron Smith move their way up into the top 1 and 2 spots. But yeah, now that we have Howie Briss Scott Shire, Benjamin Lacey, Tony Hill. I mean, it's a stacked field that we have up here in the top 5 and beyond. But for Nathan Gutierrez and Jaden Hopp, I think this is where the focus is going to be between these two drivers, as Jaden Hopp, he's going to have a 4-time win on the line here tonight in Nathan Gutierrez, a newcomer in the series, looking to just secure more points, continue to do well for himself here, as I'm looking for current point standings here, Gareth.
Yeah, that's okay. You go ahead. I just wasn't ready for you to hand that over to me, but that's fine. As we get ready. You know what I'm gonna do, just because you handed it over to me and I've been waiting for so long. I really have. I've got this joke right. This is great, and Lindsay's gonna love it because she loves these. Why do seagulls fly over the ocean? Because if they flew over the bay, we'd call them bagels.
Oh,
No? Yeah, okay.
Oh, dear.
I cracked myself up when I found that one, I must admit. But maybe maybe that's just my horrible sense of humor as we get ready for the pace truck to make that hard left down pit road, and we get ready to send them on their way once again. I don't know if you have found what you're looking for, Mason, but I certainly have. And in Nathan Gutierrez, as he has taken the jump from Jaden Hopp, Aaron Smith is going to follow him through on the inside down into turn 1 and take that position away from Jaden Hopp as well. So Hopp falling back into 3rd now, but still alongside Aaron Smith and trying to keep up that momentum on the high side. It's going to be interesting to see which can take over the lead from which, as Scott Shire and Howie Briss go side by side. A little bit further back, Benjamin Lacey, Tony Hilbrand side by side, Nicholas Corsell, Charles Jurek side by side, everyone side by side, Michael Keighley, Logan Jones as well. It's absolutely incredible. Scott Shire takes over that spot from Benjamin Lacey, and they are going to be still side by side as Lacey got a little bit loose going high, almost gets into Corsell. Corsell runs as wide as possible to try and avoid that, as Tony Hilbrand is trying to make his way through as well. This is getting a lot dicier than I expected with only 70 laps done.
Yeah, this is getting very, very exciting here at the moment for the midfield, and for Nathan Gutierrez, no surprise to see that he's already built himself up an incredible gap of about a second and a half. But again, as we've already mentioned, is this going to be a repeat of what we saw at the very beginning of this race, where he gets a very good gap between himself and the rest of the field, but ultimately, as we kind of deduced, is that he's worn through those tires a lot quicker than he expected, and I'm not sure if that's going to be the same case this time around here. But back up towards second at the moment, Aaron Smith, Jaden Hopp continue their fight here as more drivers continue battles through the midfield and beyond. But Aaron Smith looking to get himself up here into second place around Jaden Hopp, and Howie Briss as well, trying to secure himself some points here, as well as maybe try and put himself up there in the mix when eventually Nathan Gutierrez burns through those tires and starts to fall through the pack. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities here for these drivers. It's just a matter of who's going to be there to take it when the door opens.
Yeah, it's it's really, sorry, I was just I must admit I missed that a little bit, Mason, because I was too busy watching Ashmore. He wanted us to have a look at exactly what happened with his rig, and I was just watching it, and yeah, from his car's perspective, Mike Ashmore's car, just the wheel just all of a sudden shot left, and you could hear the actual wheel itself shaking and disconnecting. So that was about as unfortunate as he could make it. Tried to get on the radio to warn drivers real quick. Don't think he was able to do that, so he just Alt F4'd like he said. Thankfully, unfortunately missed what you were saying, Mason, so I can't really jump off of what you were going or where you were going at, so I apologize for that. But Jaden Hopp and Aaron Smith right now fighting for the second place spot. I say that as Howie Briss actually takes it over. So it was Harry Briss, not Jaden Huff, excuse me. As now I'm all over the shop. So hopefully, Mason, you can help me do better.
Well, Aaron Smith doing a phenomenal job of working his way around back into third place here ahead of Howie Briss, as Briss trying to put up a little bit of a fight here for the number 70 driver, trying to see what he can do to rattle the cage of Aaron Smith as they come out of turn 2 side by side down the back straightaway. Only inches between the doors of these two drivers as they come back into turns 3 and 4. Howie Briss continuing the fight for third as he tries to crack his way into the top 3 and move himself potentially up even further here tonight. And Howie Briss is one of those drivers that I personally think could pull that off here tonight. Howie has the patience, he has the discipline to really make full use of the 334 laps here, of the 500 miles that we're going to see here tonight. You know, Gareth, I'm not trying to play favorites here, but I would say if there's any driver out here that has the highest chance of, you know, keeping themselves out here, if anything happens tonight, if we see a caution that just wipes out the top 5, there's going to be one driver I think that's going to stand out from all of that and come out of the smoke from it, and it's going to be Howie Briss that will be the one that survives all of that. But there's still a lot of racing left here. We're not even halfway. We're barely even a quarter of the way into this race here tonight. So there's still a lot left that could happen, that will happen, and I'm just along for the ride, Gareth. I'm here. I'm on the edge of my seat, talking to the fans. Hopefully, everyone is enjoying the action, and honestly, just enjoying a good race here with my good friend here, Gareth. I'm sorry.
Fred's a bit of a spread shot. I know about that. Nah, I'm kidding, Mason. I love you. But yeah, you know, Nathan Gutierrez as well has once again brought that gap to 1.8 seconds. So he's once again, like I said during the caution, I wonder if he was going to try and do something different, but no, he's decided to stick to his guns and go as fast as possible. And we'll see how that works over the long run, but definitely a short run car for him, as currently on board with Charles Jurek, chasing right behind Scott Shire, who is himself chasing right behind Tony Hilbrands. And just further up front, you can see Nicholas Corsell, and I believe that's going to be Howie Briss. We're going side by side as well for the 4th position, just ahead of this battle we are looking at. There we go, as the Sour Patch Kids machine works its way around the 76. And I've forgotten what Charles Jurek has on the side, of the Sour Patch gets a little bit spicy instead of sour, and tries to is really throwing up the smoke from that rear end. Certainly must have had spice. Anyway, as we continue to watch, but yeah, amazing car control from Corsell to really lock that down and not have a bigger issue than what could have developed, thankfully didn't develop.
Yeah, Corsell showing his skills behind the wheel and keeping himself from preventing another potential yellow flag here coming out onto the field. Great thing to see from all of these drivers here. Everyone doing a phenomenal job of keeping this race green and clean. And another thing that I want to mention here, is the fact that last year, for the Charlotte 250, there was a grand total of 3 cautions for that entire race. So 250 miles, 3 cautions that we saw for the 250 last year. And so far, we are 83 laps in to this year's race, and so far only 1 caution, and I think that is a very, very good thing to see here. Granted, last year's race was 167 laps, where Caitlin Height took away the win for that race. Jaden Hopp was in 2nd place, and Nick Nickerson, another driver who we haven't had the pleasure to see this season here again, but taking home 3rd place for that race last year. So Jaden Hopp, the only driver returning to the 2023 season out of the top 3 who participated in last year's race here at Charlotte. But aside from weird little niche details like that, we've still got some pretty good action developing here after what I would believe to be 20 laps of, well, not quite 20 laps. Well,
Yeah, it's about 20.
about 20 laps. Okay, yeah, so still pretty close action that we have between drivers here after 20 laps of green flag racing after the first caution that we've seen here. So rather impressed to see that here. It almost seems like we were a little bit further spread out this time around before in the first full stint that we saw 4 drivers. So maybe some drivers have got themselves locked in here. Maybe some drivers are trying different lines here, different fuel strategies, or what I'm not sure what the case might be here for every driver here, but I can imagine that you know, there's going to be some drivers that are getting more and more comfortable as the race goes on, but we also talked about it earlier about not getting too complacent. So there's got to be a balance that everyone has to deal with here, and I don't know, Gareth, so far it seems like everyone has got a fair bit of balance to work with here tonight.
Yeah. I mean, balance is such a broad term. Yeah, no, well, I mean, we can say balance from balance on the car and how it feels. You can say balance from balance on how the, oh man, I'm saying that word way too much, but yeah, you could say it from how hard they want to push those tires and all the rest of it. I mean, there's so much. That's really out of everything you just said. That word just like, you know, it's like one of those bold letters that you see just before the start of a movie, like balance, and it's like just absolutely pictured in my brain. It's all I can think about right now.
I'm sorry,
but Benjamin Lacey and Howie Brisk going side by side now. Lacey checked up a little bit just behind Nicholas Corsell with the Sour Patch Kids. You know, because we're looking at Sour Patch Kids so often, I have to say this. I'm not sure if you've ever had them, Mason, but have you ever heard of and have you ever had a Whiz Fizz, which is what I basically grew up on? That was the sour thing that I was having when I was growing up.
I don't think I can say that I have. That's not ringing any bells for me.
Yeah, so it was basically this little pack, and it had, now this is really funny, don't ever take this to an airport, just by the way. Whiz Fizz was this little pack which had white powder in it, and it was essentially just sourness and sugar. I don't even know what it was, but it was the best thing as a kid. And you just, when you open that pack, you just got like this tiny little plastic spoon, and you just dip the spoon in the powder and you eat it. I don't know.
Okay, we have a version of that here. Oh god, I turned away from that at the wrong time.
As Sour Patch goes underneath the Howie Brisk 97 machine. I was gonna say who the sponsor was, and I can't remember who sponsors the 97 machine. I'm out of it as Sour Patch Kids has another one out of turn 2. Oh, Corsell, buddy, gonna have to get that car figured out of turn 2, mate. That's getting dicey and lighting up those rear tires even more than what they already are from this run. But Aaron Smith and Jaden Hopp currently going side by side in the second place. But you were saying, Mason?
Yeah, so it's Lindsay actually just brought it up here. It sounds like Fun Dip, and that's exactly what it sounds like to me. So it's probably the same thing, just branded differently here in the States. But yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like to me. Little little sticks that you just dip. It's just sugar-filled sugarness, and it's great if you're a child under the age of, well, I'm sure if you're an adult you still enjoy them as well, but for me that's just too much sugar. These days,
gotta get yourself a white tooth, Mason. Come on, mate.
These days, you know, I can't exactly go too hard on the candy as I once did when I was a child, but yeah, that was definitely something I did have as a kid. So now that I know a little bit what you're talking about, that makes a lot more sense now. But Gareth, we've got 94 laps that we've put in here out of 334, about a third of the way almost a third of the way into tonight's race, and still a lot left to be had. And Aaron Smith and Jaden Hopp continue their fight here, kind of side by. Oh, they're almost just kind of, just trailing along with one another side by side, even though if we were to look behind the wheel of either one of these drivers, that's definitely not the case. But they're both putting up a good fight here for second place, and Jaden Hopp is very confident down here on the bottom lane and going to continue to retain that bottom lane and see if he can outpace Aaron Smith here as they come back out of turn 2 and onto the back straightaway.
Yeah, you know what this is really doing? This is actually making Nathan Gutierrez absolutely ecstatic up in the first place position, because he's now built a 2.7 second lead. So he's gained a full second since I last talked about him. And he's going to be so happy to see this battle, because what this is really doing is slowing both of these cars down, as well as using up their tire wear a lot more as they go side by side and battle each other hard. So he's going to be very happy to see these two battling each other, Aaron Smith and Jaden Hopp. But also, right behind them, you can see Tony Hilbrands, and he is slowly but surely reeling them in as well. So he's going to be looking forward to this battle as it just keeps continuing. It just won't go away. I was just thinking while we were talking about confectionery items that you guys don't have Tim Tams, and in my opinion, that's criminal. I cannot believe you guys do not have Tim Tams. They are the best things ever. They're basically these little chocolate biscuits with more chocolate in them, and they're just incredible. And that's all I got to say about that. I don't know if I could send any your way to try, because they'd probably melt on the plane in transit. But yeah, I just couldn't believe when I found out that you guys don't have Tim Tams. I couldn't believe it. Like, that's something that I can't believe. But you were talking about how you can't handle sourness as much or sweets as much as you used to. Man, I tell you, it was only recently, like maybe about a year ago, where I realized I was getting older, because I can't drink milk like I used to. Like, this is going to sound probably a bit weird, but I used to drink 2 liters of milk in about 2 minutes. Like, I used to fly through that stuff, no worries at all. That's just for the conversion rate. I think 3 liters is about a gallon. So I was getting pretty close to about a gallon in like 5 minutes that I could drink, and I could go through milk like it was crazy. I've never broken a bone, and I attribute that to me drinking milk like it was going out of style. But only a couple of years ago, I noticed that if I drink that much milk now, I start feeling like a bit sick, and it's so sad, because that's when I started realizing that I'm getting a bit older.
You see, Gareth, for me, milk is like life nectar. It is. I'm sure if when I die and they were to, see what my blood consists of, there would be a very small percentage of milk in there, from how much I've consumed over the years and continue to consume into my adulthood. But it's just one of those beverages for me that I just can't let go of. That's just one of those things that I will probably love until the day I die, and that is perfectly acceptable for me. But sweets, on the other hand, that is where things start to draw the line a little bit, and I have to be a little bit more lenient. A little bit more.
Dawn said, "Holy cow!" in the chat. I just couldn't contain myself. I'm so sorry. It's just, oh. Keep going, Mason.
She is right. They are the holy cow. I'm only kidding, but we've got pit stops underway here once again, as we are actually just now hitting the second green flag pit stop window of the night here. So yet again, we are going to see drivers making their way down into pit road and start to make their way in and out of the pits here. Beginning what will be the third pit cycle? No. Yes, actually, the third pit cycle of the night, because of the pit stop that we had during the first caution. So this will be the third pit stop for everyone, but the second one under green flag conditions. So hopefully we don't see any mishaps happen here during this time. But if there is any, it's only going to help drivers who are looking for a little bit of an easier entry down into pit road, because again, this is a little bit of a tricky track to get in and out of pit road. It's definitely not one that it's not one track. If there's any track that you had to, pick a race to not practice or not do anything for, if you're a novice at racing, then you pick this racetrack to come race on. Without having any practice going in and out of pit road, you're going to have a bad time. I'm not saying that to be mean. You're going to have a bad time. Some tracks are a little bit more forgiving than others. If you go to, say, a super speedway, Talladega, Daytona, it's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You go to some smaller short tracks, things start to get a little dicey, but you should be okay for the most part. But there are just some niche tracks such as this one where you don't necessarily have that luxury, and it's going to be a little bit trickier to get those pit stops perfect. I mean, not necessarily perfect, but good enough that you're not hurting yourself in your race.
Yes, especially when there's like that. This is one of those pit entries where communication is really the name of the game, because even if you're on the bottom, because you've run all the way around the corner, if there is someone up your trumpet, as my dad would say, then they are right on your butt, basically, is what I'm getting at. Then, yeah, you definitely need to communicate to them that you're going to pits, because they will 100% rear end you if you are coming down to the pits and they don't know it, because it is a very quick turn off to come down there. So you've definitely got to communicate and let drivers know when you're actually going to be coming down, as there's a bit of a blink, and I believe that has sent our good friend Koulibaly into the wall. That's about as unfortunate as you can get, and typical iRacing shenanigans, as Michael Keithley just had a blink there from a little bit of connection issues and came back right into the path of Koulibaly. And the sad thing about that is, among the obvious, is that there's nothing either driver can do about that. That's just the service and the internet having a little bit of disparity. And once again in turn 2, that's the third time that he has managed to save that. And I just don't understand how Corcel can keep on saving this car. Those rear tires must be absolutely shredded by this point. And I mean, he must have like the reactions of just what's an animal with really fast reaction? Cat-like reflexes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I love how we both went to cat, but yeah, got like cat-like reflexes with the way that, and you can see just how much he turned the wheel to the right there to keep the car underneath him. So, yeah, that's going to be a scary car to drive in the next few laps before he brings it down once again.
And it looks like he's going to do that now, as the 45 machine makes its way down into pit road. And that was actually a really good preview of what it's like to make your way into the pits here. Like I said, definitely not a place where you just want to try and send it into pit road, because it can end in catastrophe very, very quickly. Not an easy track to start off with in your early days of your iRacing career, or whatever simulator or game that you happen to be using to fill in your seat time here. Here at Team Goon Squad, I mean, we celebrate all forms of racing, and frankly, it's just a great way to bring people together, and that's why we're here tonight, to celebrate, well, not only to celebrate, but to enjoy the racing here that Velocity Racing League is putting on for us tonight for the Charlotte 500, the very first crown jewel race of the season. And for everyone who has tuned in here today, for everyone that's currently watching, I thank all of you for tuning in and watching and joining us for the action here today. Hopefully, you all have been enjoying the action so far. Still plenty of racing left to be had here, as we are getting just a little bit closer to the halfway mark in today's race. And right now we're starting to see our leaders make their way down into pit road and start their pit cycles here, with Scott Shire and Benjamin Lacey temporarily taking the lead here, as Gutierrez, Hop, and Smith all make their way down into pit road. And we might actually get to see a little bit of a fight coming out of pit road here, Gareth.
I was going to say, it's actually really interesting that Gutierrez came down at the same lap as the other two. So Gutierrez has figured something out. I think he may have dropped back a bit, though, considering they all pitted together. I wasn't exactly looking at the times as closely as I should have been. But I believe that they must have made up some time on Gutierrez for, like, what I mean is Hop and Smith had to have made up some time on Gutierrez for them to have caught up as much as they did before pit cycles. So, yeah, once again, those tires, but not as bad as I thought. As I said, his strategy so far has been to just gap them as much as possible and hope that they don't catch him up. And that seemed to work that time by on that long green flag run. So we'll see if that manages to be the case again, as Scott Shire and Benjamin Lacey have come down pit road now. And Jaden Hop is going to be in our second place. As you can see, Scott Shire gets going, rocking and rolling out. Colby and Koulibaly both coming down as well. So everyone going through their stops, everyone cycling through. We've still got over 200 laps left. It's feeling like it's a bit of a long one, but at the same time, there is no shortage of action, or if there is, nothing that we cannot stop talking about. Oh, that's a weird, I didn't know where I was going with that sentence, but you know, save me, Mason. Save me.
Gareth, what I've just noticed here and kind of realized is Logan Jones, the 75 machine, coming out of turn 2, gets a little loose, saves it on the back straightaway. But Logan Jones here actually came in about 10 laps prior, 14 laps actually, prior to the rest of the field coming down into the pits here. So he actually had a chance. I was thinking he was going to have a chance here to keep himself up in the top 3, with Jaden Hop and Aaron Smith now just coming out with fresh, about 10-15 lap fresh tires, showing that the pace difference between themselves and the 75 machine's tires are not quite going to be what I was expecting to see here. But for Logan Jones, he's going to have a little bit of an advantage, I think, going into the next couple, well, at least into the next stint here for himself. He's going to be able to come in a little bit earlier than the rest of the field, and frankly might even set himself up for a underdog situation going into the later half of tonight's race. But we'll have to keep an eye on his pace, because right now, looking at his lap times, currently a 31.43 was his last time around, and his best time was a 30.18. So definitely amongst some of the faster drivers here, but just not, again, just you got to have those strategies, and sometimes where you start in the beginning of the race is not exactly conducive of where you're going to end up, and how you get there is, well, sometimes the biggest challenge of the race, aside from driving.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm starting to struggle up here in the booth. I'm not gonna lie about that, but yeah, my brain's working at you know how people say, you know, a million miles an hour?
Yeah.
Minus a million. That's about it. That's about how I was going. But yeah. So Corcel is having a battle right now with Tony Hilbrand's just behind. They are fighting it out pretty close as Hilbrand's enters a lot lower and is going to get a much better drive off the corner, as well as going lower than Corcel just ahead. So they're fighting right now for the 4th position. And you know, something that I haven't mentioned yet tonight, Mason, has been that big TV screen on the back stretch that you've seen quite a few different times. Apparently that was, there you go, there's a small clip of it just there, and blocking our cameras a little bit as well, so thank you for that, cameraman. But we have basically that big camera there, that the TV, I should say. It was the world's biggest HD TV when it was put in place, I believe back in about 2010 or so. There's a deal with Panasonic when this track got repaved and redone. 200 foot wide, 80 foot high, so it is a big bloody TV screen. I'm not sure if I can say bloody on broadcast, but I've just said it twice, so there we go. Yeah, that became the largest individual screen, and of course, I believe it was in 2014 or 2016. Might be a little bit out on the dates on that, but I think it was 2014. Apparently, Texas Motor Speedway said, no, everything's got to be bigger in Texas, so they made an even bigger one, because of course they did. But we are currently looking at Benjamin Lacey and Nicholas Corsell just ahead. On the inside, that's going to be Nathan Gutierrez, who is a lap down at the moment. So after coming in, actually, I'm not sure how Nathan is a lap down.
Looks like he came in an extra lap.
So maybe
he
had maybe he had the exact same issue we were talking about earlier with Sean Williams, that maybe using the auto fuel feature, and it's not seeming to work very well these days. I say these days, it's only new. It's not seeming to work very well for a lot of these drivers, and I've heard, let's say, mixed reviews on that sort of system that iRacing has implemented there, because everyone used to use external software to get their pit stops dialed in the way they wanted, and iRacing decided to do them themselves. And of course, there's going to be some teething issues. We could probably expect that, but hate to see it for a lot of these drivers, especially as we're trying to watch some amazing racing and some races get ruined because of shenanigans within the system. But that is neither there nor how, as that sentence doesn't make sense either. But
Well,
we continue to waffle up here in the booth, is what I'm going to say.
Well, Gareth, and I think the best way to kind of describe this, and maybe even sort of relate this to real life racing, is, while in real life drivers might experience, actual issues breaking with the car, their fly-by-wire throttle sensor suddenly breaks, maybe their clutch stops working, or their gauges stop working. They no longer can tell what RPM they're in, or their transmission breaks. We can't simulate that in iRacing, or rather we could, but what would be the point of that if the point of a simulator is to be able to just drive the car? So when you have these sort of outside factors coming into the racing and affecting drivers' races, this is kind of where you have to accept it as a driver, that things happen. Although that's not exactly the term that I wanted to use, or I would use, but that's the broadcast approved version that I'm going to say here. But that's, unfortunately, that's just how things happen. And with new software, with new updates to the iRacing platform, some things are just not going to work the way that that it's intended to out of the box, and especially when things don't get tested the way that you want them to. The thing that a lot of folks don't often realize is that iRacing itself is a relatively small team of developers that all make this service happen and make it what it is today. It's often very, very easy to overlook a lot of things when you are a developer. There's so many different systems, so many different cases of situations that can happen on different systems. There's a lot of different complexities that can come forth that you, like I said, don't exactly foresee when you start development. So, I as much as a lot of people in the iRacing community like to dog the developers of iRacing, I think that they, for what they have and for what they offer to us today, there's nothing else like it. There's hardly anything else that can compete with this service. and it hopefully will only continue to get better as time goes on. So again, I stand by iRacing. I support the iRacing service and what they do, and what they do for the racing community, because without them, we wouldn't all be here right now. First of all, that's the kind of the biggest thing, and I don't think I would want to be anywhere else right now, Gareth.
Oh, I mean, you're right. I did have a look. I must admit, I did have a look at the iRacing. I'm not exactly sure how to put this, but I had a look at their employee amount, I guess is the like worst way to say that. But yeah, they only have about 130 odd people working for them. So that's really such a small, like that's possibly the smallest, like, you know, mainstream game. Well, exactly. You're probably going to say something along these lines, but compare it to pretty much any other game, not just in racing, but any like major production game that's on the level that iRacing is. You know, they've got over 1,000 people plus working on maybe one individual piece of a game. Whereas, so iRacing does a fantastic job of doing that, and let it be known, it is very easy, like you said, to have a go at them for certain things. And I don't even know if the auto fuel is the reason why these drivers are having these issues or having to come down pit road a second time. I'm just assuming because it happened to me, and that obviously annoyed me personally, and that's why I have a go at them. But like you said, Mason, you know, you're the tech guy, and you understand just how tough it is to be a developer. So, or along those lines anyway, a programmer and all the rest of it. So I can't say I know as much as you do, and it's very easy to point fingers, as it always is.
Yeah, you know, and you know, I'm not saying that people that are, you know, saying the auto fuel function is not working properly. I'm sure it probably isn't. There's probably some things that are not working properly or as intended by the developers. But like I said, hopefully they get those things worked out. Hopefully they get fixed and it becomes a usable feature going forward into the rest of iRacing's history, as well as for these drivers here in the series, and for any other series that, you know, drivers are looking for a feature, for a function that has that exact sort of, you know, setup, to where they don't have to worry about figuring out fuel and how much fuel they need to finish a race and so on and so forth. As Aaron Smith, big trouble for the 70 machine on the back straightaway, but just below the blue line, so it's not going to cause a caution here, as Aaron Smith is going to take it around back into what I assume is going to be pit road here. This is going to mean big trouble here for Aaron Smith, and let's back this up here as our camera decided to start from the rear view, but I think he just got loose out of two, just carrying way too much momentum.
It looked like he carried way too much speed, just drifted into the outside wall, wasn't expecting to hit it, and tried to check it up and keep it underneath him, but it was already too far gone at that point and just went around. So yeah, something we missed while we were talking, and that's huge implications, because now this battle that we've been watching, although we haven't been talking as much about it as potentially viewers would have liked, Tony Hilbrands and Benjamin Lacey were battling for that third place, that final podium spot. However, now it's going to be the battle for second position, as Jaden Hopp, his two main competitors, one of them is a lap down and one of them has just had issues themselves. So Jaden Hopp is looking very cushy at the moment up front.
Yeah, Hopp is looking confident, calm, and collected, and right now I think looking to secure that four-time win, back-to-back wins here for the number 81 machine. And one thing that I want to mention here and kind of touch on is the fact that Jaden Hopp is still obviously the leader in the points standings for the 2023 championship by 70 points. Aaron Smith in the second place spot in the championship, with Howie Brisk in third at the moment. So Jaden Hopp with 888 points, Aaron Smith with 818 points, and Howie Brisk with 790 points for our top three. I do have a graphic somewhere, but I think I forgot to grab that before we went live here, but that's all right. So Jaden Hopp here with his with his recent success and continued success here, I mean, it's really tough to say, well, whether or not he's going to dominate this series going forward, because there's still a long season left here, and there could be plenty of races where Jaden Hopp doesn't maybe do that well, and we see maybe drivers like Aaron Smith who are close, still close-ish, for that fight for the championship, that could have, a couple good wins for themselves. I know Aaron Smith was talking about wanting to come away with double-digit wins this season again last year when we talked to him at the end of the season, but I don't know. Tony Hilbrands, he's on a mission here, moving himself up into second place here. Oh! Yeah. Sean Williams getting a little loose there, almost getting a little bit bent out of shape there as well.
I'm glad you caught that one, because I was just about to say that, Tony Hilbrands has been really working something out on the long run, I've noticed. But yeah, I'm glad you caught that one, because I was about to miss it altogether. So great eagle-eye spotting from my good friend and colleague Mason Heimbar up here in the booth. But yeah, Tony Hilbrands has worked something out on the long run, and this is amazing because, as I've said, week in and week out, Tony Hilbrands has been predominantly a short run speed sort of driver, and for some reason, I say for some reason, I'd say he's practiced on it quite a bit probably, and he's able to seem like, so far they've been traveling for about 30 laps, so it's right on the cusp of going to, I'd say we're just starting to get into the long run side of things now, and he's looking very, very fast indeed. We did have Aaron Smith come onto the YouTube side of things telling us that his frames halved when the lighting changed, and I almost wonder, Mason, iRacing has this, another iRacing thing, and I'm not having to go on it for this because I understand it's probably very difficult, but they have a system where, like, when they go from being in the daytime to being in the nighttime, there's one particular section, it's almost like one frame that stays on screen quite a bit longer than everything else during that transition from day to night, and I'm not sure exactly why that is, but it's almost like they're transitioning from the way that the track is lit up during the day to the way that the track is lit up during the nighttime, and it's this very, very subtle moment, but it lasts long enough for every driver to know exactly when they have changed that, and that apparently for Aaron Smith, unfortunately, just hit right at the wrong time. And Dawn Hilbrands as well, saying, I don't have to jinx Hilbrands. So I'll try not to, as Benjamin Lacey very nearly gets into the back of Tony Hilbrands, as he has a little bit of an issue and a struggle trying to get that 7 machine turned into the corner or out of the corner, as well as he would like. And Scott Shire and Howie Briss are going to try and take advantage.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to take away from the issue that Aaron Smith was having in the number 70 machine is most modern games these days, and for this matter, for simulators, they're gonna want to run them at about 30, well, on the low side, 30 frames a second to about 60 frames a second. For racing, 30 frames is usually acceptable. It's not ideal, but it's acceptable. It'll at least get the job done. But when you consider taking half of that away, unless you're an experienced gamer, unless you've dealt with computers long enough and you understand frames per second and all those things, I can't exactly give a great description of it to those of you who might not know. But what I can say is that imagine watching a movie that's almost like you. This is going to make some of you feel really old, and I'm sorry for it. But if any of you remember those little, like, they were like almost looked like binoculars, but when you looked through them, you could like look at different
change
pictures.
The slider.
Yeah, the little sliders. So imagine that, but doing that like 15 times a second. And that's kind of roughly what that experience would be like for Aaron Smith in that situation, if that's something that you could imagine in your head. So it's trying to make fine adjustments to your race car, trying to correct any sort of, you know, trying to correct the car from stepping out or sliding from behind. It's tough to do that when you're not getting information as quickly as one would like to. So when you're only getting half of the information that you should be getting, it makes things a lot more difficult to make those split-second decisions that are crucial in racing. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully for those of you watching that, you know, maybe you were like, I'm not quite sure I understand. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of what that might be like for Aaron Smith in that sort of situation.
Yeah, and it's all relative, of course, you know, as well. Like you said with the switching, because I used to have one when I was growing up as well. You know, you press the button on the top and it changes the slider of what you're looking at, and I don't know anyone who could do that 15 times a second. That's insanely fast. But you know, it's all relative. So like, you know, you use your finger to flick that 15 times a second. I mean, that's insane. But
well, just for analogy's sake.
But that, you know, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, you take that from that, which is insanely fast, but you put that into a car going around a racetrack at 180 miles an hour, and 15 frames a second is not fast at all. That is very slow, and that is very hard. Like, even when you said 30 frames is manageable, it's pretty tight. Like, I mean, I'm used to having slow frames because I come from a console world. Yes, I know I'm one of those people, but I'm used to having not many frames, and I will tell you that coming onto the PC world only a couple of years ago, it's a huge, like, difference, especially on a PC, especially when you're simulator racing or flying or simulators. You know, when you're moving at speed, when it's trying to simulate speed, the amount of frames you have per second is a huge thing. And when you halve your information, like you said, going at the simulated speed, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's incredible. And if you haven't had the opportunity to get yourself in a simulator yourself, if you're watching this broadcast and if you know the person who's driving the race car, ask them to let you rip it around a couple times and just experience it once for yourself, if that's something that you are interested in and would like to try. Because let me tell you, it's a lot of fun. It gets the adrenaline going, and frankly, who just doesn't like driving race cars? It's a fun experience. But Gareth, we are. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, mind you, do it in moderation. Make sure the person's okay with it, because I have tried this before. Like, I asked my dad, my grandparents, and my auntie to do it. I'm not gonna lie, they all had a blast, but my auntie felt very, very sick afterwards. So if they're not, you know, if they don't look at technology or deal with it too much, just work them in slowly, because I remember she was looking at me like she went white-faced, and I don't even have a VR headset or anything. I just have a single monitor and you turn a wheel, and she was very uncomfortable. So just keep in mind that is a thing as well. And Dawn Hilbrand's also saying analog TV compared to HD. That's not entirely true, because HD and analog TVs, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, Mason, I believe that's to do with the number of pixels, not the number of frames.
Well, she actually is kind of right in a vague sense here as well, because when analog and TV essentially made the switch from analog to high def, the amount of frames actually did change. For television, I think it went from, oh dear, I want to say it was like 24 frames a second to, I think it's, oh dear, I think it's 30, somewhere between 30 and 60 now for most like broadcasted television. But for movies, it's still, I think, 24, 25 frames a second. There's different standards that are used, but she is right. When analog TV made the switch to HD television, as Scott Shire drives right underneath Tony Hilbrand's, and for some reason we are not seeing a yellow flag out on the field, as Hilbrand's is going to recover from that one. What in the world did we just witness?
I think I think Tony's trying to stop on track to get that caution to come out, but it doesn't seem to want to. And
Oh
he was coming
my.
down pit road. This is what I was talking about. This is what you were talking about. I believe Tony was actually trying to come down pit road, and Scott had no idea that Tony was going to make that move, and was right on the back bumper of Hilbrand's. And I believe Shire just hunted him because he just didn't know that Tony's coming down. So I believe that was miscommunication. That's what that was.
You know, a little bit of miscommunication, but I'm sure, you know, it doesn't seem like either driver is terribly affected by this, at least too much. And we're still green. Neither driver have neither driver seem to have a whole lot of damage done to them. Scott Shire seems to be okay here as well. I mean, maybe aside from a little bit of damage to the hood from picking up the rear end of the 92 machine. But, you know, Gareth, I don't see any major damage to either car. Maybe a little bit of a bent bumper on the 92. But aside from that, it seems like everything's okay.
Well, Tony has come out of his pit stall without taking any repairs. Scott Shire is still in, so he's definitely doing some repairs to the front of that machine. So that was just, I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than what I said earlier, which is just, I believe that was just, Scott had no idea Tony was trying to make his way down into pit road, and was right on the back bumper. And like you said, you know, it's a dangerous pit entry, as once again we almost saw a carbon copy of exactly what we were talking about, as as that was very close between Nicholas Corsell and I believe that was
Logan Jones.
Was that Logan? That was Logan Jones. Okay. Yes, so that was very close as well. But they weren't coming down pit road, so thankfully nothing too bad there. But Colby coming down pit road now, and Jaden Hopp has taken back over the race lead.
Yeah, Jaden Hopp is back out in front of the pack, and Nicholas Corsell going to be in second with Logan Jones in third. So we're already seeing the field getting quite a bit of a shakeup here, and already a few drivers, more than we would probably like to see here, falling out of the race. And it looks like we've actually got Michael Ashmore, the 98 driver, back in the pits at the moment. He's been there for a little while, so I'm not sure if he's going to make his way back out onto the track, but maybe Michael's got his wheel issues figured out and is able to at least get back out on track and finish the race here. But so far, Thomas Sewell, Charles Jurek, and Aaron Smith have all taken it behind the wall and have called it a race here tonight. I think Scott Shire potentially might be, no, I think he's probably still getting that damage fixed to his front end. Might have been quite a bit of damage done to that front. I'm not sure how much he did picking up the rear end of Tony Hilbrand's machine here, but it seems like it's enough to, he's been down there for nearly 3.5 minutes, so I'm not sure if maybe he's just calling it a night here, or he's still waiting for the pit crew to finish doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain what's going on with Scott Shire, if he's just if he's having his repairs taken care of, or if he's decided maybe he might want to call it for tonight. But no, he's actually coming out of the pits right now, so he has come out of pits, and he must have had a fair bit of damage on the front end of that machine after, like you said, he lifted up the rear bumper of Tony Hilbrand's. And of course, this track being what it is, 1.5 miles, and such a high-paced track as well, aero is going to be quite significant. So getting those repairs done means that he will have the same race pace. It's not as bad on Tony Hilbrand's car, as he did get hit in the rear. So the rear is not quite as important as the front end is on these machines. Although we will have to monitor that just a little bit in the next few laps, just to see if it's a little bit more loose than he would like it to be. But at the moment, our top three are going to be Jaden Hopp, Nicholas Corsell, and Howie Briss. As you can see, Scott Shire there makes his way underneath Logan Jones as well. So we're going to continue watching this race develop as what are we, about halfway through? Not quite halfway? I think we're no, we're about halfway through.
Just
Nearest
about.
makes no difference.
Just
Yeah.
about. And as we are about halfway through tonight's race, we are also just about 2 hours into the broadcast here tonight. And again, I want to thank each and every single one of you who has tuned in throughout tonight's broadcast and is still watching with us here today. It's great to see all the support and all the love coming in from the community for our drivers and for the league, and also for us up here in the booth. It's great to have everyone communicating and talking with us up here. It's great to have that interaction with the community and be able to kind of talk with you guys. You don't get to we don't get to have that experience when we're watching NASCAR or Formula One or whatever your favorite motorsport happens to be. So we try and engage with you all as much as we possibly can up here in the booth. But folks, as we are on lap 169 of 334, it has been quite a lengthy race so far, but still a lot of racing left to be done here, as we are just about halfway, just a little over halfway through tonight's race. So while we have the field a little spread out here and everyone has got quite a bit of distance between themselves, we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a short break up here in the booth and step away for just a couple minutes here. But don't go anywhere. Stay tuned for the action, as there is still plenty more racing left to be seen here. And I think, folks, it is going to be quite a lengthy race here for everyone watching. So stay tuned. Grab yourself some stacks, some drinks, whatever the case might be, because there is still more action to be seen, and we will be back for more iRacing with Velocity Racing League for the 2023 Cup Series right here on Team Goon Squad in just a few moments.
Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away we go for the first time. Nicholas Corsell, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let it go very far.
Nice to go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
Smooth stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, just insane.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Okayama International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons. Alrighty, welcome back, race fans, as we return back to the action here for the 2023 Velocity Racing League Cup Series here for the Charlotte 500. as we are watching along with Nicholas Corcel, currently in second place at the moment. Jaden Hopp still leading the field after getting a very, very lucky break in the form of Nathan Gutierrez having his pit stops being altered with here a little bit. The auto fuel feature not functioning the way that he wanted to, and the 07 machine going to drop back a couple laps here after a very, very dominant start to tonight's race. Nicholas Corcel again moving up into second. Howie Briss calm and steady as always, and still retaining a top 3 position here at the moment. And also, I gotta give the donation link here for everyone watching at home and for all of you who are watching at the moment. If you would like to support Team Goon Squad and support what we do here for not only this broadcast here with Velocity Racing League, but for our in-house series, the Endurance Series, all of the broadcasting that is done for that series is done for free on my behalf. So I bring all of the broadcasts that we are able to do for that series, well, as essentially as something to provide everyone some content to watch, and for the drivers of the Endurance Series to share it with their friends and so on and so forth. But primarily the point being here is that it allows us at Team Goon Squad to do more things for our series, such as have live race control, live broadcasting, the ability to hopefully one day give out prizes and things of that nature, and be able to just make it a more immersive experience for all of our drivers and for everyone who attends any of our events or watches our broadcasts. We like to make it as best as we possibly can with what resources that we do have, and every little bit helps. So for those of you watching after, I'm sure, this very long and well, drawn out spiel, you can head on over to our Patreon. It is patreon.com/Team Goon Squad. That is the link here, and I will post it in the chat for those of you that don't exactly have the ability to type it in at the moment, or, well, just to make it a little bit easier for all of you. So thank you for everyone who does support not only Team Goon Squad as a whole, but also for all the leagues that we broadcast for, and try and help out as much as we can. We also try and do merchandise for the leagues that we work with, that also all of the, well, 50% of the profit of all merchandise sold goes towards the league, and so on and so forth. We try and do as much as we can here to help each other, grow each other, and just make everything better for everyone involved. So if you would like to be a part of that, head on to the Patreon link, and you can find yourself being listed as one of our monthly sponsors at the end of every broadcast. So just one thing that we try and do for our Patreon supporters. I know that there's more plans in the works, in the pot stewing away, but I don't want to reveal any details quite yet until they are confirmed, and that is in fact what we will be doing going forward in the future. But Gareth, I mean, you've been here with Team Goon Squad. I think not quite as long as myself here. I think you actually joined a little bit later after me, but we've been around for quite a while now, and just to see how much Team Goon Squad has grown, and just how many leagues that we've gotten the chance to work with over the years, it really seems like we've seen the farthest extents of the iRacing community, and just how far and wide there's these leagues go. I mean, it's incredible to see how many drivers there truly are, and just how supportive a lot of these communities are of one another. It's just really great to see.
It's absolutely amazing. You know, I have, yeah, like you said, I haven't been doing this for a very long time. I think VRL was the Velocity Racing League was one of the earlier ones that I started doing, and I believe it started out as a bit more of a training tool to get me a little bit more used to it with you, Mason. But I'm getting a lot better now. And but that aside, you know, it's been an amazing journey, and not many people get to say that they really love their job. And I don't know about you, Mason, but this is what I do, and I absolutely love it. I can guarantee you that. I love racing. I love watching cars. I love all this stuff, and it's absolutely incredible. And I don't want to jinx anything here, and I know it doesn't actually exist, but if we start doing awards for the best league, I think I know which one I'm going to vote for. Um, uh, but yeah, so you know, yeah, but it's been an amazing journey, and yeah, thank you to all those who donate. And mind you, you don't have to donate. We appreciate you just coming out and just being a part of the broadcast and listening in and all of that that goes along with it. But if you do donate, thank you very, very much once again, and we really appreciate it up here in the booth, as well as on the I say merchandise, on the behind the scenes side of things is what I should be really saying, as Matthew Fitz has a little bit of a bobble, but was able to check himself up before he went a round. So there is good news there. But Jaden Hopp still continuing to put on a clinic here. Nicholas Corsell in second place. Benjamin Lacey, Howie Briss, and Patrick Colby making up your top 5 for the moment. And yeah, we've got a good race coming in so far. It's been a long one. We've been waffling about, talking about all kinds of stuff so far, and a little bit of racing here and there, because we have to. And yeah, it's been utterly enjoyable. And this is for me, this happens during the day. This is midday for me right now, weirdly. And I wouldn't have it any other way to spend my middays. It's amazing, and especially this particular one. The VRL guys are amazing. The community is amazing. Everyone who writes in chat, yourself, Mason. It's just like, this is the most fun experience I've ever had in the booth, or it's getting close to being the best experience I've ever had ever. So and that's not me, trying to make up some spiel about how this is amazing. That's being brutally honest. So yeah, it's been amazing. I need to get better vocabulary, but yeah, it's been amazing, and it's something I look forward to every single week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having worked with a fair few leagues over the years. Well, I say years as if I've been doing this for a long time, but over the past, I'd say close to 2 years that I've been doing broadcasting, Velocity Racing League has definitely been amongst my favorite for looking forward to the races every single week, and being that VRL here, they run a full schedule for the entire year, which is something that we don't see a lot of here at Team Goon Squad. We've got a couple different leagues. I think actually one league at the moment that hosts a full race schedule. There might be one other that I'm thinking of that I'm missing, but either way, it's definitely exciting to see how these seasons progress over the course of the year, and how these drivers progress over the course of the season. It's really, really great to witness, and the action that is produced from these races is just top tier. It's phenomenal. It's great to witness, and frankly, it by the time Sunday night rolls around for the NASCAR Cup Series races, sometimes I just feel like, I already had a better one last week on Monday, so this ain't nothing. But, Gareth, one thing I do want to mention here is the fact that the lights are on here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, in case anyone hasn't already noticed that here. So the lights are on, and the sun is starting to set here at Charlotte as we prepare to take things under the night and start to see the track temperatures slowly start to come down here, and potentially start to see these cars tighten up here for drivers as track temperatures come down and they're able to get potentially a little bit more grip out of this track. I mean, I can't imagine that it was too bad to begin with. I don't actually recall what the track temperature was before we started here, but it doesn't really seem like it's going to have any huge implications here other than just maybe making the car drive a little bit, again, just a little bit tighter than what it has been already.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's often not talked about a whole lot with the changing track conditions. There we go. Where the cars really respond very differently to different weather, and whether it's hotter or colder underneath the tire. And the thing is, as we approach the nighttime, like you said, these cars are going to get a little bit more tight. And what that basically means is that you're not going to be able to carry as much speed into the corner as the car wants to keep on pushing you up the racetrack, as opposed to the opposite, which would have been happening earlier on in this race, which is, it's going to get loose, so the rear end will want to give way. So guys, I want to say Nicholas Corsell, as well as, who else did we have? We had Logan Jones as well, showing a little bit of rear end sort of looseness, as we can say, for lack of better words. But yeah, so they're going to be very happy to see it come into the night time. Whereas for drivers like Jaden Hopp, who's very calm and collected, this could actually potentially be bad, as he's going to have to get used to changing track conditions as well inside that machine, and make sure that it doesn't push so much that he finds himself drifting higher and higher up the racetrack, to the point where he hits the outside wall. And it looked like Tony Hilbrand's had a little bit of a bobble, maybe hit the wall as well, just on the outside there as we pan back to him, and you could see that rear end just twitching ever so slightly left and right. So there may have been some sort of issue there, as yeah, it's there's not much else I can say apart from it's been a good race so far, and I'm looking forward to the next 134 laps.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there, Gareth. And Don Hilbrand's coming in with the question about patron. So we choose which crew member level we want. Yep. So basically, to break it down, you can choose any of the three membership options that we have at the moment. And I think James is the one that's setting all of this up. So I'm sure there might be some changes to it in the future, but ultimately you can choose whatever one that you would like, and it's a monthly subscription, so you can cancel at any time. It's not something that you are committed to for the rest of eternity. But all of the money that is donated to us, it goes right back into Team Goon Squad. It goes back into hosting sessions for future races. It goes into promoting not only Team Goon Squad as a whole, but also the different leagues that we provide broadcasting for, to get more outreach, to be able to show the races to more people, get more people watching the broadcast in the league, also driving in the leagues themselves. We're doing everything that we can to give back to the leagues that we work with, and to also just to increase the brand awareness of Team Goon Squad. So, but yes, Don, you simply select what level you would like, and there's some different benefits to each one, but ultimately, I think for yourself, the basic level, the basic crew member one is what most people I think are going to choose here, for the most part. And frankly, Gareth, I mean, I can't believe I wouldn't ever. If you would have told me a year ago that one day there would be, the potential of people wanting to support Team Goon Squad in more ways than just showing up for the broadcast and just, being there to watch the shows and support the leagues, I don't think I would have believed you. But now that I'm seeing it with my own eyes and just seeing how much the leagues that we've worked with have grown and ourselves have grown, it's incredible to see, and I'm all for it. I love the racing community and how everyone comes together and supports one another. As Jaden Hopp, the leader, is going to come in for the first time, well, not the first time, but is going to come in here for, I think, his fifth time down in the pits here and starting his 5th pit cycle of the night here.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he's been out for 200 laps and not pitting, I want to know what's under that hood. Because that would be pretty incredible. But yeah, no, it's been, yeah. I mean, I don't want to rehash this too much, but, you know, as you said, Mason, if I would have talked to you 2 years ago and asked you, well, let's clear it off straight away. I didn't know you 2 years ago, but no, it's been amazing to see, and you're entirely right. You know, the community around iRacing in general is so, for lack of a better word, lovable. Like I have had an absolute, you know, whether I'm racing or broadcasting, everyone is so kind and so patient with with my mistakes and whatnot, and you know, everyone wants to help each other, and it's just you know, all that sappy stuff that I could say, but at the end of the day, it really is like that. It's, you know, everyone looks out for one another, and it's amazing, and I can't thank anyone enough. And it doesn't matter on how much you support on Patreon, what level you choose, or what have you. Every little bit means a whole lot to us. So thank you very much for that. As well as it looks like Benjamin Lacey is coming out of pit road now after having been in the 3rd place position. So Patrick Colby still leading this race at the moment as we cycle through pit stops for the 5th pit cycle. And yeah, I guess we're running out of things to talk about, Mason, unless you want to bring up another subject. But if you don't have one, let me just trouble you with something for a moment. What did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet?
Oh no. I'm not sure what.
Supplies.
Oh my god. Let's see here. Does the amount of viewers each night help out with anything on YouTube for money or sponsorship? So the more viewers, better. So as far as that's kind of an interesting topic here that, you know, I don't really get to talk a whole lot about, because it's for ourselves up here and for what we do specifically. We generally don't look at viewership as important as a lot of other streaming platforms and so on would, you know, consider it as important, because for what we do, we target such a small demographic that for us it's not as important. You know, for if it was, say, the iRacing, the Coca-Cola series that is hosted, that is probably the pinnacle, I would say, of sim racing, you know, broadcasting. If I guess you could say as an example, or, well, not an example, but that is kind of the peak of viewership for that. So when you start to talk about sponsors and things of that nature, though, that's going to be very important to people who are you know, funneling potentially large amounts of money into a series to be able to promote their brand, their product, whatever the case might be. Whereas here for us and for these races, we're simply promoting the league, the drivers, in the racing. That's all we have to work with, and that's all that we usually do. Sometimes that we do have race sponsors and things of that nature that are working with leagues, and we do the best that we can to promote them and, you know, give them shout outs and all those things. But for the most part, for us and for Team Goon Squad, viewership isn't of utmost important. What's important to us is that we have people showing up for the broadcast. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit it, amongst the broadcast team, it makes me a little sad when I see the concurrent viewers and it just says 0. That definitely makes me a little sad when no one's watching the broadcast, because then it's just me talking to myself, and that's no fun. But when there is people watching it, even if it's just one person, or in this case right now it's 18 people, it's really great to see, you know, just people coming in and showing their support. That's better than no one, and frankly, that's all that I think these drivers ask for, is that people just show up and just have fun, enjoy the race with them. Even though we don't get to drive the cars ourselves, we at least get to see what it's like and what these guys are capable of doing. So, and Gareth, I don't know about you, but I don't have an issue with that.
Not at all. Absolutely not. I mean, look, I must admit for myself, I get a little bit terrified when those numbers start getting a little bit bigger, into the 20
God, I don't even want to go
people.
there.
I get a little bit nervous. I'm like, oh man, I gotta say the right things, and no, I've stuffed up, and all the rest of it. But all in all, honestly, like I said, the community is amazing, and the more people is definitely the better. Plus, it gets you over that hurdle of being a little bit fearful of not making mistakes and whatever else, especially if you've got a sort of, especially the community, like in the VRL series, there's so many people like Jax, Dawn Hilbrands, Lindsay, Aaron Smith was in for a moment, and Ashmore from their cars, I mean, everyone tuning in that is not, that may not be riding on the YouTube side of things as well, just listening in, we appreciate it all. And I know for the last probably 50 laps we've been doing nothing but saying how much we appreciate everyone, but it gets to that point where we're super happy about it. But I have to say, Mason, okay, I'm going to do this one more time, at least one more time, probably another one if I'm honest, but this is the most amazing joke I have found in the last 2 weeks, okay? And I love looking for these things. I always look for dad jokes. Are you ready for this?
Hit me.
Where do you learn to make a banana split?
Oh gosh, where?
Sunday school.
Oh my god.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that the best joke ever?
Oh my gosh. It's Gareth, I really wonder how deep this dad joke realm is going to go for you. How many dad jokes can we get from Gareth here over the next season? I'm really curious. We got to have a counter or something in the corner that we just tick every time we have a dad joke from you, so we can keep track of it.
Well, I'm supposed to save them for the cautions, but these drivers are driving so clean right now that I'm scared that I'm not going to be able to tell them, and I'm so desperate to get them off my chest, that I just have to tell you. As we've got Benjamin Lacey coming up into the second position, passing Nicholas Corsell there. The Sour Patch Kids are going to be down into third for the moment. Howie Briss is very close indeed as well. So this pack has formed over the courses while we've been waffling about how much we love all of you, which is entirely true. But we've got Lacey now being chased down after passing Corsell, now being chased down by Briss as well as Corsell, who went very, very wide, potentially getting something a little bit wrong with the line that he wanted to take into the corner, and Howie Briss now taking that spot away. Dawn Hilbrands saying that they have racing parties here to watch, which just makes me more terrified because it makes me think I gotta put on a good show. But I got Mason to fall back on, so thankfully Mason will catch me if I fall.
Well, and that's honestly a great thing to hear too. It's just makes it a lot more rewarding for I think just everyone involved, to have that level of support and just to have fun, just to enjoy it, have that, that's what we're here for, is to make the racing exciting for everyone, and hopefully to make the broadcast fun to watch. And whether you're, in Dawn's case, having a watch party, or just hanging out on the couch and playing a game in one, on one screen and watching the broadcast on another, we just love to see everyone tuning in and just enjoying the racing with us. That's all I could ask for on a Monday night. And as we are just about 110 laps to go before we see the checkered flag fly here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, it has been a long 222 laps. And Jaden Hopp is still dominating tonight's race with over almost 20 seconds of a gap between himself and Benjamin Lacey and Howie Briss, who continue to essentially just click off laps here. These guys really aren't looking to do a whole lot of maneuvering here. I mean, we see at the moment, who is that? Patrick Colby and Nicholas Corcel both kind of scrapping it out here, but Corcel is going to be a lap ahead of Colby, and it looks like Corcel's actually dropping off the pace here, letting drivers on by. Maybe he's just, you know, not trying to put up too much of a fight here. Let me see what Colby's got for tires. Not that much newer tires either for Colby on that, so I'm not sure if Corcel's just I don't know, maybe found himself in a situation that he's just not quite got the pace to match everyone else up here in the top 5, or what the case might be here for Nicholas. But definitely taking it easy, I think, here for the 45 driver at the moment. But back here in 5th place, Tony Hilbrand's Michael Keithley going to go side by side with one another as they go through 1 and 2 and out onto the back straightaway. Hilbrand's taking the 5th place spot, and Keithley going to get right onto the tail of Tony as they go through 3 and 4 onto the inside. Keithley going to look to get that inside line speed as they come out of 4 and through the dog. I want to keep saying dog leg. I don't think that's right though. But either way, Hilbrand's going to stay up on top as they go back through 1 and 2, and it seems like Hilbrand's is going to have the better speed coming out of 2 onto the back straightaway to keep that 5th place spot.
Yeah, it's Tony Hilbrand's as well, overcoming a lot of adversity. Well, I say adversity. I don't know, but it definitely got punted by Scott Shire earlier on in the race, and didn't take any of the repairs that were probably his pit crew was probably wanting him to take. But he's done a great job of making his way back into the top 5 now, and still under fire from Michael Keithley, who definitely does not want to see that 92 machine leave his sights, as they continue to have a very, very close battle. And Lindsay asking, for those that watch the NASCAR Cup Series, who is your driver? That may have been only a question for the actual chat, but I'm going to answer it anyway. My driver, you know, I have to admit, and everyone's probably going to tune out now that I say this. I hope you stay with me. But my driver's always been Denny Hamlin. I don't know why, but when I started watching the Cup Series back in 2012 is when I started watching. I just loved the look of the FedEx machine. It looked absolutely fantastic, and Toyota Camrys, you know, I had one until my uncle sold it. That's a whole another story, but yeah, so yeah, he was always my kind of driver. And we've also been told that Tony will have a birthday coming up on Sunday, so we're gonna have to get ready to organize some sort of celebration for next week. What do you reckon, Mason? Maybe some piñatas, maybe some candy floating around the room. I know you said you're not a big candy fan. Maybe some Sour Patch up here in the booth. Oh, that could be cool, actually. I'm really looking forward to that. As we continue watching this race for now between Keithley and Hilbrand. Keithley falling back the pace a little bit, but still able to keep himself within striking distance, but falling back slightly as Corcel is also coming up to the back of Howie Briss as well for the 3rd place spot, so that's also happening. And we may have lost Mason up here in the booth as I try and cover for him, so I'm not sure what's happened there, and hopefully he is okay and no emergencies have taken place on his end, as he does switch the camera, so maybe he's back. Mason, if you are there, we love you. We'd love to hear from you.
I do apologize for that, Gareth, a little last minute on my part, but I had to get that taken care of. But 100 laps that we have left to go here, folks, and I mean, I think, Gareth, I think this is probably the moment that all of us have been waiting for, is these final 100 laps to really bring things down to the wire. And at the moment, I think we are only going to have really about if my broadcaster math serves me right, it's going to be about 30 minutes before we see the checkered flag here. Actually, you know what? I think my broadcaster math is a little off there.
That's okay. We don't need to be. We don't need to be the best mathematicians in the world. So, you know, that's I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was in school, mathematics was my worst subject. It just was. I was terrible at mathematics. As we watch Nicholas Corsell jump underneath Howie Briss. So this is going to be a battle for the 3rd position right now. And Nicholas Corsell, now, interestingly enough, I believe that's going to be a pit cycle move almost. Because, well, they're pretty much on the same cycle of tires. I believe Corsell's are 3 laps older than Howie Briss, who's just fallen in behind there. But in terms of really how they were before this pit cycle, that last pit cycle took place, I'm very surprised to see Corsell. You know, they've been out for about 30 laps at this point, and Corsell has typically fallen back when it's gotten to this stage of a run. So potentially, we're seeing the nighttime running really coming into its own, as the tires won't wear as quick as they used to.
Yeah, that could very well be the case here for drivers like Corsell and Howie Briss. For Jaden Hopp, it definitely seems like he is taking full advantage of the nighttime racing here, as he's developed himself nearly 20 seconds of a gap between himself and Benjamin Lacey, although that's not too different from what we saw the last time that we checked in with him. So not exactly an earth-shattering change here for Jaden Hopp, but still a very, very dominant lead here for Jaden and the number 81 machine, as we're just about 10 laps left before we see potentially our next pit stop develop here. And on that note here, I'm doing some math here in my head, Gareth, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, or actually do correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've only got 2 stops left before we see that checkered flag fly here tonight. Assuming everything all goes well in green for the field, I think that might be the case. I think it's going to be a 2 stops left in the race here tonight.
Yeah, I believe you're spot on right there. There shouldn't be more than 2 laps. If we're running around about 40, I believe the earliest drivers coming down are pitting in around 35 lap sort of area. I mean, they might be doing 3 stops, but it's very unlikely at this point. If we stay green the entire rest of the run, we should be looking at a 2-stop race as Fitz comes out of the pits underneath. You can see the battle there between Scott Shire and Michael Keithley. I say battle, that is between Scott Shire and Keithley. Scott Shire, of course, is a few laps down after having that issue with Tony Hilbrands earlier on and taking all the repairs necessary to get his car pointed back in the right direction. But Jaden Hopp continues to put on an absolute clinic, and there's no other word for it, as he's currently almost 20 seconds in front of Benjamin Lacey, sitting in the 2nd position. So Jaden Hopp, sure, I mean, if we stay green and, you know, barring nothing going wrong, and I'm sorry if I'm hitting the commentator's curse right now, he should be getting into win number 4 coming down in his belt. Yes,
yeah. And that's just the incredible thing about it is, you know, Jaden Hopp has just been the unstoppable force here for the VRL Cup Series, and it's just incredible to witness the almost night and day difference from Jaden's 2022 record and compared to this year. It's just, like I said, night and day difference for Jaden Hopp. He has done incredible so far this season and continues to do well. Hopefully looking to secure another win here tonight, looking forward. But I think where things might start to taper off a little bit is looking forward into next week, which again is going to be our 2nd road course race of the season as we head to what was it, Road America, Road Atlanta?
Road Atlanta, and oh, I am looking forward to that one.
Honestly, I cannot wait to see it myself here as well. It's, Road Atlanta is going to have some great racing, maybe not necessarily for for every driver in this field. It's going to be a tricky race, but it's also going to be a real challenge for a lot of these drivers, but also a chance for, a driver in the name of Aaron Smith, who, is looking to secure some more points, secure some wins here in the VRL Cup Series. He hasn't quite has had as much luck this time around as compared to last year, where he had double-digit wins. So far this season, not quite as lucky, only winning the second race of this season, which was at Sebring, coming away with the win there. But I don't know. We still have a long season left to go, Gareth, and there's still a potential that we could see Aaron coming away with more wins as the season goes on. But right now, it seems like Jaden Hopp is going to be the man to beat this year.
Yeah, well, it's too early to call exactly how the championship will end up going, because we're only in the first quarter of the season. However, or at least the first third. However, Jaden Hopp is very commanding at the moment, and like you said at the end of that spiel, that he is definitely proving to be the car to beat this season, and that's pretty incredible when you consider the class of field that we have right now. And as he said to you last week, if my memory serves me right, it's really what it comes down to is he's been practicing a whole lot more. And as we know, what's that old moniker? Practice makes perfect. And Jaden Hopp once again proving that is entirely accurate as he continues to put up on a show up front.
Yeah, and actually taking a look at the results from Sebring, Jaden actually came away with a podium for that race. Coming away with third place for the race at Sebring International. So, I mean, he's definitely got the pace to be up there with the top three, with the likes of Jaden Hopp, with Aaron Smith and Nathan Gutierrez, who both took away the first and second place spots for that race, as we're seeing Tony Hilbrand's the 92 machine making his way down into the pits here a little bit earlier than the rest of the field. Hopefully going to find himself out in an ideal position once things are all said and done here. But yeah, for Jaden Hopp, it very well could be, if enough practice is done on the part of Jaden Hopp, he might just be able to come away with the win here. But as I'm looking at chat here, Lindsay is saying we got better internet, and I think that's a good one there. And I think that actually does probably help a little bit in the case of Jaden Hopp not having to deal with blipping as much and so on and so forth. But it really, what it boils down to is pure skill, and Jaden is just oozing all of that here with the VRL Cup Series. So great to see how much Jaden has improved from 2022 going into this season, whether we want to attribute it to the brand new internet or the practice, whatever the case might be. But Gareth, it's been incredible. It's been an incredible start to the 2023 season. I mean, we're not even a full 10 races into the season yet, and it's been incredible racing so far. And I gotta say, for the first full-length race of this year, I'm impressed with what I've seen. We're 248 laps in, just about to be almost 80 laps left to go here, 84 laps left to go here before we see that checkered flag fly. Gareth, I mean, what are your thoughts so far on tonight's race? I mean, I'm certain we've already talked about it plenty of times already, but I mean, taking into account tonight and looking forward into the next couple crown jewel races that we have, which, speaking of which, the next one will be at Iowa. What are your hopes? What do you expect to see going forward?
I don't know. Obviously, you can't know. We don't have a crystal ball telling us how it's gonna be. Wouldn't that be something? But it's been amazing racing so far, and like you said, Jaden Hopp's been absolutely blitzing it through the field as he is now entering pit road. And we are on the cusp of, right now, what's going through my head is if Nicholas Corsell, Jaden Hopp, Howie Briss coming down pit road as well, if they can actually make it on that one extra stop, because that is going to be kind of tight on fuel as well. Like, not as tight as like, oh, maybe not. They should still be green to go without too much issues, but it could be close, especially if there is something thrown into the works, like if they start having battles with each other on track, working through those tires a little bit more, caution coming out. You never know what's going to happen. But in terms of this entire season, so far it's been an absolute thrill to watch. You know, last week I believe we went to North Wilkesboro was actually last week, and that was insane amounts of fun. So if my memory serves me correctly, I kind of love watching those short track races. That's just me personally. I it makes it more fun to call as well, because there's always a lot going on short tracks. But not to say that there's not a lot going on here, because there certainly is. As you can see, Tony Hilbrands has just made his way around Logan Jones for the 6th place spot. That 75 machine seems to have come to life a fair bit. Logan Jones has, since having a little bit of issues and getting very, very loose earlier on during the day portion of tonight's race. But done a very good job so far of keeping that car underneath him and up one spot from where he started. So doing a great job at the moment. We're still waiting for, I believe, Patrick Colby is the only car outside of the pit lane and continues to run around on the lead lap outside of the pit strategy of everyone else at the moment. So it should be, it's actually really intriguing to see how far Colby can take it. I believe he's been out for about 47, 48 laps right now, so he's looking pretty good at the moment, but he must be thinking of coming down soon, surely.
Yeah, I don't think Colby's going to want to stay out on those tires for much longer. But again, as we've talked about a little bit earlier on, the fact that tire temperatures are coming, or track temperatures are coming down, you are able to extend the life of those tires by a little bit, but I can't imagine it's going to be that much longer here before Patrick Colby is going to be forced to come down into the pits. That car will just be practically undrivable after a certain point in time. But here we've got Howie Briss and Benjamin Lacey having a little bit of a bout here for 4th place as they come across the checkered line and back into turn 1 and 2 as they continue their fight here. Benjamin Lacey down on the inside and giving the current reigning champion a bit of a run for his money here as they exit turn number 2 onto the back straightaway. And Howie Briss trying to do everything in his power to work his way up the top 5 even further and potentially into that top 3 spot. And speaking of top 3s, that is where Patrick Colby currently sits in 2nd place at the moment, and that's potentially a big reason why we haven't seen Colby come down into pit road yet, as Coruscant starts to close in on the tail of that number 9 machine, and out and around he goes as they come onto the back straightaway back into 3 and 4. And there Coruscant showing Colby just what a fresh set of tires looks like, and Colby's probably just salivating at the mouth right now, thinking about coming down into pit road and grabbing those tires right now.
All I can think of is like Homer, but instead of donuts, it's tires. But anyway, that's all that jumped to my head when you said salivating. But we've got Patrick Colby. I mean, I'm more astonished than, regardless of tires, I'm more astonished that he's been able to have his fuel last this long. As he's coming down to pit road now, jumps down right in front of Lacey. Thankfully, Lacey was able to avoid. I wouldn't say. I guess avoid is the wrong word. Lacey didn't actually have to move out of the way, but yeah, it was closer than I'm sure Lacey would have liked to see. As Keithley there was involved on the high side of that one, and he is a current lap down. So Lacey going to take over 3rd now because Colby coming down pit road, and Howie Briss is not too far behind still, trying to track down Benjamin Lacey for that 3rd place spot. So yeah, all the drivers pretty much stressed out apart from these two, who for the last several laps they're not leaving each other behind. I mean, I know Lacey passed Briss not too long ago, but Briss is not letting Lacey out of his sights anytime soon.
Yeah, Lacey, I think, is definitely going to have his work cut out for him, as right now, the next closest driver to Lacey, aside from Howie Briss, is going to be Nicholas Corcel in the number 45 machine, currently in second place. And right now, Benjamin Lacey showing that he's got a little bit better pace than the 45 machine, but I don't know if it's going to be enough here to really make a massive difference in the race here tonight, as you know, we really haven't seen drivers in the later stage of this race start to get into packs with one another and start drafting one another. We're like we just mentioned, like Gareth just mentioned, drivers are real spread out with one another at the moment. We've got lap traffic kind of intermingled with lead lap traffic at the moment, so there's really not going to be a whole lot of drivers looking to help each other out at this point in the race. So it's kind of all just a fend for yourself kind of a dog eat dog kind of track right now, and any sort of mistake is going to be capitalized on in a moment's heartbeat, in a moment's notice, because we're closing in on going to be, oh dear math, 70 laps left to go here.
Don't ask me, I've got no idea.
So, with roughly 70 laps left to go here, this is like we've already said, this is coming down to the wire. This is where mistakes are going to cost you dearly if you make them. So everyone's got to be on their A game, and after already almost 3 hours of being behind the wheel, I'm sure that some of these drivers are going to be feeling the exhaustion and definitely going to be wanting to see that checkered flag here before too long. But they got to keep their heads down. They got to keep themselves in the game here, as there is still a little bit of racing left to do. But I'm sure it will. It's going to tick away before our very eyes. But for the drivers, it's probably going to feel like another 3 hours of racing before that checkered flag flies.
Yeah, well, I mean, and on the similar sort of subject, I'm very surprised so far, Mason, that we haven't had more cautions. And I don't mean like, someone's got to the back of someone or whatever else. I'm more mean just in terms of fatigue, because these drivers at this point, I'm sure mentally, as well as physically, mind you, they're probably just right on the edge of like, oh, please, can this race be over? Because they've just been racing non-stop for so long at this point. The only breaks they get is every 40 to 50 laps they come down to pit road, and even then they've got to judge their pit speed, make sure they stop in their stall. They get about maybe 10 to 15 seconds of reprieve while the 4 fresh tires and fuel goes in the car, and then they have to go straight back out, watch the pit speed, go out, exit safely, get back on the racing service, get back up to speed, and go again. And it's honestly amazing that we haven't had more issues due to just drivers simply, their arms giving out, or maybe their legs feeling a little bit wobbly, or their mind just getting, as I said earlier, just a bit complacent, a bit too used to going around the circuit, and then just getting themselves up into the outside wall. I'm incredibly impressed by the sheer fortitude of these drivers right now.
Yeah, it's incredible, and you got to give credit where credit is due, because this is just not something that everyone can do. It's a very, very difficult task to be able to complete as a driver, to be able to stay out on track this long and stay consistent and stay fast the entire time, and not let distractions get in the way of your race. It's definitely a testament to what every single driver here can do, and what they're capable of behind the wheel of a race car. So as we're winding things down here, we are grinding down the final laps, and before too long we will see that 25 laps left to go here flash across the top left of our screen. But it's still quite a bit of ways before we actually see that happen here, and in the meantime, we've got a couple small battles starting to develop here on the track with Patrick Colby and James Coulibaly going to start to duke it out here for 9th place, and making quick work of it, Patrick Colby rather, getting around the 22 driver of James Coulibaly up into 9th place here, so cracking his way back into the top 10. But the biggest driver, the biggest mover and shaker of this race here today has got to be and is the number 7 driver of Benjamin Lacey. Moved up 12 spots from 14th all the way up here into 2nd place, and not exactly, outpacing Jaden Hopp in the 81 machine by any stretch of the imagination. Jaden Hopp is definitely still dominating this race at this moment, still clicking off very impressive times, and still with about a 24-second gap between himself and 2nd place. So I don't think there's any sort of signs or indications that Jaden is going to find himself any further down than that here. So Tony Hilbrands, though, is going to find himself getting lapped by 2nd place driver Benjamin Lacey as Tony continues to fight his way back to try and get himself unlapped here, as at this point in the race, as hopeless as that's probably going to feel for Tony.
Well, in saying that, I believe Tony Hilbrands, if he maintains his position, I think at the present time, if there is a caution that comes out, he might be the lucky dog. So he might actually go back to the lead lap. So there's every reason to fight for it. As I mean, let's not get anyone wrong here. He's still in 5th. Like, he's not doing badly at all. He's still doing really well. It's just that Hop is so damn fast here. Like, I mean, that's really the biggest thing at the moment. Like, Hop has just gapped the field so much, and it's absolutely incredible. And I think we've got Dawn and Lindsay in the chat making fun of us up here in the booth. I'm not sure exactly what that's about, but that may very well be the case. As we continue to watch Tony Hilbrands getting passed just then by Corcel and Briss, as they also make their way a lap ahead of Tony Hilbrands right now. But yeah, that is 3rd, 4th, and 5th, even though there is a lap between them, between 4th and 5th. But speaking of, I mean, Corcel and Briss are right behind each other, and Briss has always had the longer running car, so Briss trying to make a move here on Corcel at the present time. Down into 3. They're going to be side by side right in front of Hilbrands. He's definitely got something to watch, as they are going to go side by side and continue to be side by side into the... Yeah, you know what, you called it the dog leg earlier. That's not what it's called, but I don't even know what it's called.
I can't remember. I know there's a name for it. I don't remember what it's called.
The start-finish part. Let's go with that. As Corcel and Briss continue to be side by side all the way for an entire lap here, Mason.
Yeah, it's incredible to see just how much of a fight Corcel's putting up here with Howie Briss right on his tail. And Corcel's not giving up his 3rd place spot that easily. He is going to push it all the way as much as he can here, as we're getting actually closer to what will be our final pit stop of the race. And it looks like Matthew Fitz is going to be the first driver to make that happen here, maybe even a little bit earlier than we might expect here. But hey, you know what? I'm not Fitz, so maybe he's got some tricks up his sleeve that we're not aware of. But either way, either how, this will be the final pit stop, cycle of the race here. So this is where everything comes down to the wire, right down to it. And any strategies that are looking to be played out here, this is where it's going to matter the most. Jaden Hopp, I mean, you know, if I was Jaden, I'm not really going to be worried about a whole lot here, other than just keep doing what you're doing and stay consistent to the finish. Benjamin Lacey, Nicholas Corcel, these guys definitely have some work cut out for them, especially if Howie Briss is able to stay alongside here with Corcel and come down into the pits with him. There might be a little bit of a fight in pit road for these positions, but you know, once we see pit cycles round out again, and everyone's back out on track, it's going to be tough to say whether or not we're going to see any late race battles for positions here, unless we see these pit cycles kind of shuffle drivers around a little bit to make that happen. But Gareth, I mean, you know, we've seen it all night long. We've seen multiple green flag pit stops. We've seen at least one yellow flag pit stop. So I don't know. I don't think there's going to be any sort of underdog move being made here, especially when you have someone like Jaden Hopp who is just crushing the field at the moment. It's really tough to say.
Yeah, it's very tough to say. I don't know exactly what the right call is, especially because, like I said earlier, you know, they've only got a couple of laps to the good anyway, so it's not a huge thing. Although Patrick Colby has saved up more fuel in a run than anyone else by quite a ways. So far, so it'll be interesting if he takes a bit of an undercut and then tries to go the rest of the distance on one tank in the next, I don't know, I want to say about 6 laps, as he's been able to save almost 50 laps in the past. So it'll be very interesting if he comes down early and maybe makes that move on cars in front of him. As you can see right now, he's right on the back bumper of Sean Williams, who is also following behind Michael Keithley in not too far a distance either. So Colby's definitely going to make that move and make it work, as he has about 10 laps newer tires underneath his machine than everyone else in the field at the moment. So he somehow has worked out how to save some fuel in that car, and that could definitely be used to his advantage on the long run. And I apologize for my voice doing some weird things. I gotta try and dial that one down. I'm old enough now where my voice shouldn't be moving around like it does.
Well, I think that's slightly attributed to the fact that we've been up here in the booth. You know, we've been rambling for quite a while, and you know, thankfully, folks, for those of you watching, you know, the one nice thing about doing these broadcasts for leagues like Velocity Racing League, or really just on the Team Goon Squad channel in general, is we're not like NBC, where, you know, you are going to see a commercial break every 15 minutes or every 5 minutes or every time that there's a wreck or, you know, a battle on screen. You know, in fact, we've only had one quote-unquote commercial break this entire broadcast, which is now just about nearing the 3-hour mark. So, you know, take it for what you will, but you know, that's just one thing that we try and accomplish here at Team Goon Squad with our broadcast, is to make it as engaging as possible and just to make sure that we're not cutting away from the action when it's the most important. And I think that's probably the one thing that I appreciate the most about what we do, is that we're not here to just sell advertisements and sponsors the entire broadcast. We are here to do our jobs as commentators and bring you all the racing that is on our screen. But Gareth, we also are just now actually entering our final 50 laps of the race here, so not much longer. We've clicked off the last 30 laps here relatively quickly, and once we come to about lap 290 is when I think we will start to see the rest of the field make that final pit stop here for the end of the race, and this is going to be it.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you know, I feel like commentator's curse is going to hit one of us at one point, surely, towards the end of this race, and someone's going to bring out a caution, and it's, all hell's going to break loose, and it's just going to be, oh no, what's going on? But for the moment, if it does stay green, you're absolutely right. This coming green flag stop, which should be any moment now, really, in the next 10 laps. I mean, I believe in the next 10 laps, if my math is doing what it's supposed to be doing in that old one working brain cell I have. But yeah, so it should definitely, don't laugh at me, Mason. How dare you. No, fair enough. That was an interesting move. Okay, so that's not for position. Michael Keithley was tracking down Sean Williams. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, enters Logan Jones, who I believe was a lap down. So he is on newer tires as well, as he came down like 20 laps after a lot of these drivers. So he and Colby are on a slightly different strategy to everyone else who is really out on track at the moment. And yeah, it's been a good race to watch though. You know, even though we've been talking about just random stuff for a while and whatever else, you know, there's still been every so often when we go back to the action, there's still been quite a bit of battles coming up as Patrick Colby now is working real close to Tony Hilbrands and catching up very, very quickly indeed. That's those 10 laps newer tires talking, as 10 laps even newer than Colby coming around on the high side is Logan Jones. So, yeah, I mean, you know, 10 laps doesn't seem like much, but it makes a massive difference on these tires.
Oh, yeah, it certainly does. And Logan Jones currently showing just how much of a difference it makes as he makes his way around Tony Hilbrands and Patrick Colby. But, you know, the one thing that we also got to pay attention to and kind of be on the lookout for is, you know, some drivers might be turning up the intensity here for themselves and for the field around them as we get closer to the end stage of tonight's race, with now going to be 44 laps left to go here before we see the checkered flag fly. I mean, again, this is going to be our final pit stop cycle of the race as Tony Hilbrands makes his way down into pit road. So this is all going to come down to, you know, who's going to have the consistency to finish out in the top 3, the top 5, wherever, whatever positions that drivers are currently hoping to finish at the moment. Because, you know, at the end of the day, everyone wants to win the race, but as, you know, as a driver, sometimes you have to accept that can't always get there. And whether you're fighting for points or just fighting to finish the race in general, like a lot of drivers are sometimes looking to do, we'll hear it a lot in the booth. After a race is finished, you know, bring a driver up and they say, you know, I was just hoping just to finish the race in general. So whether drivers are looking to win a race or just get points or just come across the checkered line, this has definitely been a true challenge, I think, for a lot of drivers here tonight. And it's really just great to see everyone who has tackled it and maybe not had quite as much success as they wanted to, but either way, taking the challenge and just doing the best that they possibly can here. And still seeing a relatively healthy field out here at the moment. So great to see that here as well. Not a lot of drivers finding themselves out of the race or just opting to take it behind the wall and watch the race from the pits. But
yeah, I think we got 13 of our 13 of our original starting 18 drivers that are still rocking and rolling around. So that is great to see. I really, really love to see. You know, I'm always a big promoter of, you know, drive it, even if you have issues, just keep going around, and as long as obviously you don't get in the way too much of the leaders. But you know, if I'm always a big, as I said, a big promoter of, you know, when you go out there, you go out there to finish. And unfortunately, you know, some of these drivers may have too much issues, and I completely understand that, as Colby almost checks it up as he almost goes sideways. Colby, Corsell, Williams, Gutierrez, Koulibaly all come down pit road. You know, I'm a little bit worried, I have to say, and I was thinking this when he came down. Tony Hilbrands did pit at lap 288. Now, I'm really worried about that. Now, he is a couple of laps down from the leaders, so that realistically it was around lap 290. But I'm really worried about that because he only lasted, give or take, 45 laps before coming down to his pit stop this time by. And he only has, from the end, about 44, 45 laps from when he came down. So that really worries me as to whether he'll actually be able to make the distance if there's no cautions.
because that I feel like is actually going to be a lot tighter than I expected. As Jaden Hopp, Benjamin Lacey, and Howie Briss, your first, second, and third place drivers, all come down pit road now.
Jaden Hobb now making his exit as his pit crew finishes their pit stop for what will be the last time here at Charlotte. And looking at the numbers, it looks like Jaden is going to have just about 38 laps with these tires before the checkered flag here. So he's going to have quite a bit of tread to work with before the race is over. So, I mean, by the time he comes across the checkered line, he should still have quite a bit of pace left in those tires before they're even officially done here. So on the part of Jaden Hopp's pit strategy here tonight, it has worked out, I think, flawlessly for the 81 driver, as he's got nearly 22 and a half seconds between himself and Nicholas Corcel, who've also both just recently made their way in and out of pit road here as well, as we start to enter into our final, what will be 37 laps left to go here. And we get ready to close out tonight's race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Charlotte 500.
Yeah, and what a Charlotte 500 it has been. Like, honestly, it's been an amazing Charlotte 500, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, it may have been a long race. I'm sure some of these drivers are getting very tired. I'm sure you are as well, Mason, as I know I am getting a little bit tired, I must admit. But it's been fantastic to watch, and, you know, even though it's been such an arduous race and a very long one, it certainly has had its mainly pluses. I mean, we've only had one caution so far, and I was really worried. I have to admit this to the viewers at home as well. I was worried that with this amount of laps, if we had a few cautions come down, it would drag on and on. But we've had green flags runs for pretty much the entirety of the event, which has been absolutely amazing and a true testament to just how clean the drivers are in the VRL Cup Series. So once again, you know, thank you very much to Velocity Racing League drivers, more than anyone else at this point, to sticking with it, making sure that when the car does get loose, they don't cause a caution.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's probably a lot of the biggest thing that a lot of drivers probably maybe not worry about, but that's what they try and be wary of, is at the end of the day, no one wants to ruin another driver's race. Everyone wants to race cleanly and fairly, and I think a lot of drivers, they always have that in the back of their mind. You know, we saw that earlier in today's race with the first caution, or the first and only caution that we've seen throughout tonight's race with Michael Ashmore, who experienced a mechanical failure with his wheel, and had to Alt F4, or basically close iRacing, to prevent himself from going into the rest of the field and, you know, ruining potentially a lot of other drivers' races for tonight's race. So, you know, everyone here in the Velocity Racing League is conscious of other drivers around them, and, you know, ultimately just looking to have fun and to have a good racing experience. And I think that's something that here with Velocity Racing League, and Tony Hilbrands especially, has done a phenomenal job of developing. And
Car on the wall.
Oh, the 75 machine.
Yep.
Logan Jones.
Logan Jones had a bit of a moment up into, I should have said that a bit louder, a bit more enthusiasm, but Logan Jones was into the turn 4 wall. I'm not sure exactly how that happened. I don't know if you can find a replay of that one, but yeah, definitely tagged that outside wall and was a bit sketchy for a second there.
We'll see if we can catch a glimpse here of what happened here to Logan Jones. Might have got a little bit of a snap here. I'm not sure. I think he got
that's out of turn 2. That's out of turn 2. So we're watching for turn 3 and 4. Here we go. Oh. Okay, so I think that's the wrong lap, but that's okay.
All right, well, we'll try that again next time we have something like that. You know, it's kind of a science sometimes trying to find the correct.
It's not an exact science.
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely something that takes a little bit of luck, I think, most of the time. to find the correct correct event that you're looking for. We're talking a bunch of broadcaster gibberish up here, but either way, either how, did I just see Sean Williams and Patrick Colby have a wiggle coming out of 2 there, or was that just my eyes deceiving me?
I looked away for like at that exact moment. So, I tell you what, the timing could not have been better for you to ask me that, and I just have no idea. But yeah, I mean, they look pretty stable for the moment, so I don't know. I mean, it'd be funnier for me to just say that your eyes are tricking you, so I'm going to go with that.
Well, we'll just assume that, because it's very well possible that after 3 hours up here in the booth that maybe my eyes are starting to see things. But either way, it's been a great night of racing, and we are winding it down to what will be close to, I think, 25 laps left to go here. And I think that will be popping across our screens here before too long, and that's going to mean only, well, a short few laps for these drivers, as I'm sure they're probably all eagerly awaiting for that checkered flag to fly. Because, Gareth, I mean, honestly, you know, you could practice this race months in advance, but I don't think there's really any way to, it's tough to keep yourself focused and pushing in a race like this for 3 hours or long, or for 500 miles, I should say. It's a challenge for anyone, any driver of any skill level. It's difficult. It's difficult, and it's definitely a huge challenge, I think, for all of these drivers here tonight, and going forward into the next 4 Crown Jewel races that we have in this season.
Oh yeah, but like you said, you know, the biggest thing for me is I cannot believe that they're able to do so with, as I've said before, like the physical and mental fortitude that these guys have is absolutely crazy. Because, I mean, like you were just saying, you don't practice. I mean, you can practice for the race, yeah, sure, fair enough, but you don't practice, you know, stints this long. Because you'll wear yourself out and you will not be performing very well. I don't know anyone that would be able to do that. Mainly from what I've heard and from what I understand, you may get like a 2-hour practice session go up, or you may make yourself practice for 2 hours, but you won't be practicing that whole time, right? You'll be sorting out setups, you'll practice a whole fuel stint, or you'll practice qualifying speeds, and it'll just take you that time to really dial yourself in and get used to everything. But you won't be practicing for that entire time. So, I mean, the fact that these drivers have been able to drive around as long as they have without issue is a true testament to them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And, you know, right now, looking at timing and scoring, it actually looks like Jaden Hopp is a considerable amount ahead of the rest of the field here at the moment, as he's kind of in his own world. He's in his own area code, actually, at this moment, with how much of a distance he has between himself and the rest of the pack. But Benjamin Lacey, Nicholas Corsell, Howie Briss, they're all going to be on the same lap as well. But Jaden Hopp is almost, quite literally almost, to the point where he's able to lap Howie Briss as well, who's currently in 4th place. So just insanity from Jaden Hopp. His dominance here in the past 3 races, or now 4 races, is just incredible to witness. Will he carry this momentum forward going next week into Road Atlanta? Remains to be seen. I mean, we've seen him perform well at Sebring, taking away a podium there. But is he gonna have enough juice in the 81 machine to challenge the likes of Aaron Smith and Nathan Gutierrez, who were also dominant drivers in the race at Sebring? So that remains to be seen, but we will get a chance to see that next week. So make sure if you haven't already, get yourself subscribed for that race, because it is going to be one that you don't want to miss. And Don Hilbrand's in the chat saying next time you need to take a 5-hour energy shot. Honestly, that's probably not a bad idea. That probably would help in a situation like this. But let's see. Our 3 dogs gave up on the race and fell asleep. You know, sometimes that's how watching racing tends to go. I don't know if, Gareth, if you've ever had this happen, but I know when I've been watching the Formula One races, especially last year, I think the most particular one that stood out to me was Monaco. I think I got about an hour in, maybe not even a full hour into the race, and I passed out because of I think there was a caution or a red flag that extended the race start by like 45 minutes or something. It was ridiculous, but yeah.
Well, I tell you, first thing I'm going to say, I hope when she says our 3 dogs gave up, I hope she actually means dogs and she's not like having a go at people, because that would be really funny, but also probably inappropriate. Because I know I call some people dogs sometimes, but we don't need to get into that. As we've got, as we continue to watch Jaden Hop here, but yeah, like you said, you know, I don't watch F1, and the reason for that is I find it to be the most boring motorsport in the history of the world, and everyone can argue that against me until the cows come home, and then they make it up for me. As caution, as a caution has come out, but yes, as I briefly finish what I was saying, I believe that was Matthew Fitz actually who had that issue. Oh man, I'm failing, but I'm trying. And oh yep, way too loose out of 4.
Ooh, big hit to the wall.
Smacks that wall. Yep.
And this is kind of a repeat of what we saw Aaron Smith do. I believe it was Aaron Smith. I can't remember who it was, but
it was Aaron Smith. Yeah.
Just carrying a lot of momentum here out of turn 2. That rear end getting away from him, tries to correct it, overcorrects it, and down she goes into the bottom wall of the back straightaway. And it looks like the 6'9" driver is going to take it back behind pit road, as I don't think the pit crew of the 69 machine is going to be able to repair that machine quick enough to be able to get back out on track here. But it looks like our leader, Jaden Hop, is going to take it down into pit road, as the rest of the field is going to take the opportunity to potentially unlap themselves, maybe, and be able to hopefully get a little bit closer to Jaden Hop, and frankly just to the rest of the field and the rest of the action, and make things potentially a little bit more interesting for the field going into the last 16, or what I think will be about 13 laps once we come back to green flag. But Gareth, I mean, this is probably, if we were going to have cautions come out, this could either be the best time or the worst time to see these cautions come out here tonight.
Well, this is the worst time if you're Jaden Hop, that's for sure, because he was leading by a very considerable margin, and now the field is going to be right on his doorstep. So that's going to be not a good thing for him to see, but the drivers right behind him are going to be very, very happy to see that, as they get another shot to try and prove that they have what it takes to be right up front with Jaden Hop, excuse me. Well, Nicholas Corcel starting on the outside or inside, depending on where Jaden Hop wishes to select. But yeah, once again, now I just want to go back to what I was talking about when the caution came out. I do want to apologize. It sounded a bit mean, but I still stand by it that F1 is boring. But I was going to say that I don't think I've ever fallen asleep during a motorsport event. I don't think I have fallen asleep while watching SpongeBob on a couch. I'm got to admit to that. SpongeBob is amazing. Yeah. So I don't think I ever have, and I don't think I've ever found something super boring. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But I will say it's caution time, and you know what that means. So Mason,
Oh, God. It took me a second to realize what was happening. I was like, oh, here we go.
what do you call a poor Santa Claus?
Do you call a poor Santa Claus? Oh, God, it's what is it?
Saint Nicholas.
Oh, Jesus.
Ah! Oh, I
You
love
know,
my job.
the fact that the fact that you have more dad jokes than me, and
I'm not even a dad. That's the thing.
you know that's
Oh man, when I become a dad, I'm gonna be like the worst, most patronizing person in the world. It's gonna be great.
oh, God, oh dear. Well, you know, as I'm reading Don Hilbrand's message too, as an F1 fan, I'm feeling a little attacked right now, but it's okay.
Yeah, how dare you be an F1 fan and calling over races, Mason?
You
What
know,
are you doing?
well, and that's that's the honestly that's the really interesting thing about it is I've had the opportunity to call so many oval races in my time with being with Team Goon Squad that really that's the biggest reason why I enjoy, well, kind of the biggest reason, one of the big reasons why I enjoy watching Formula One and other disciplines is that, I call so many oval races that by the time, like I said earlier in the broadcast, by the time I get to Sunday night for the NASCAR races, I generally don't have the same level of enthusiasm as I would because I feel like I've already seen that race. I've already, been there, done that. Because a lot of the times, a lot of these leagues that we work with, their schedules align exactly with NASCAR schedule, and they run the same tracks, the same length. Not always, but sometimes. So again, it just feels like I've already seen that race, and I don't feel the need to watch it myself. But sometimes that's not always the case. Sometimes there's great races that happen, on with NASCAR. Sometimes there's even better races that happen here with VRL and on the Team Goon Squad channel. But that's neither here nor there. We are going to get back to green flag action here as we see the pace truck make its way back down into pit road. Jaden Hopp in the front of the pack takes the green flag, and away we go. Back to green flag action here for the Charlotte 500 as Jaden Hopp builds up another momentous lead. About a half a second between himself and the rest of the pack here. It's Benjamin Lacey, Howie Briss. They're going to scrap for position here, almost side by side for Nicholas Corcel and Howie Briss as they come down the back straightaway, heading back into turns 3 and 4. 13 laps left to go here, Gareth.
Oh yeah, and it's really winding down. You can really feel I can feel the intensity in the air. I hope you can as well, as Corcel looks like he spun the tires a little bit on the start of this run, but absolutely showing his pace right now as he goes underneath Howie Briss. We also had John Hilbrands in the chat actually saying something that I have to point out because I think it's fascinating, that apparently Tony fell asleep while he was sitting in the stands at a NASCAR race. Not sure how you do that. Not only because, first of all, the race is entertaining, but also because I've only been to one NASCAR race. I actually took a trip to the US to actually go and see the Darlington race back in 2016, I believe it was. And honestly, it was so loud. I think it's impressive enough that he was able to even fall asleep during that. But regardless, Tony Hilbrands is back in 8th at the moment, still trying to work his way through the field. But we have Howie Briss and Nicholas Corcel. I'm really not doing a great job with drivers right now as I'm getting too excited for my own mouth, as Nicholas Corcel and Howie Briss get very close to touching side by side. They just managed to avoid each other, and Corcel tucks back in behind, but he's going to really want to pass Howie Briss.
Yeah, Briss is going to be doing everything that he can to try and get away from Corcel now and maybe even build up a little bit of momentum to track down Benjamin Lacey, who's also built up a little bit of a gap here. Tony Hilbrands, though, he's in a bit of trouble here. The 92 machine finding himself in... Oh, no. Gareth already blaming himself for this one, but let's take a look here. Let's not make assumptions quite yet as Hilbrands coming out of turn 4. looks to be, might have got just a little bit loose here. Maybe even some contact here with Michael Keithley. And
Ooh,
you know
yeah,
what?
contact for sure. Keithley did not turn down into the low part of the track as Tony certainly expected him to, and maintained the middle lane, and just, yeah, two cars get together and that's the result.
You know, honestly, Gareth, and
I'm
this
sorry, Dawn. I hope you don't hate me.
this honestly even almost could, well, honestly, that's too close. That's definitely not netcode. That's definitely contact there. But unfortunately for Tony Hilbrands, you know, at least in this case, for Tony, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't, you know, he spun out or he got a little bit loose. It was purely just a little bit of racing contact, and unfortunately finding himself just down a little bit. But not as much as I would think here, only falling back down into the 8th place spot. I mean, obviously not anywhere near where he would probably want to be at this point, but it could be worse.
Well, he was already in the 8th place spot when that sort of contact ended up occurring. Michael Keithley came down pit road after that contact as well, so he's coming out of pits now. And yeah, thankfully, because of such a long green flag run beforehand, not actually losing any spots on track because of just how spread out the field really was. And you could see how checked up the leaders had to be when they came off pit road.
Oh, Gareth, you don't want to read chat right now.
No. I mean, just for the viewers that aren't reading the chat, Dawn threatened to take back the Sour Patch and not send it to me, so I'm very upset. But that was, yeah. I didn't exactly have time to gather my thoughts before I said that. That was purely reactionary. I apologize if that was a bit loud, but yeah.
Well, Gareth, in speaking of not really having a whole lot of time to react here, bringing things back to the racing here, once we come back to green flag, there's only going to be, I think, 5 laps left to go here. And you know, if things keep going the direction that we're going, which I'm not going to use the word, not going to say the word, but
if said it.
If I'm not going to say it though, I'm not going to contribute to it. If we continue to see this progress any further than it already is, you know, we could start to enter into that green-white checkered attempt territory, and it could start to get really dicey here for some drivers. And frankly, I'm not exactly certain how much time we even have allocated for today's race, for this session in particular. I mean, you know, for those of you who might not know, that after a certain period of time, if you go over whatever the session time is for the race event itself, so in this case, if it's 4 hours, if the racing goes all the way to 4 hours and there's no winner, however the order is, wherever the driver is where they finish. Words. English is hard sometimes. So
tell me about it.
Yeah, so, you know, with that in mind here, I don't think we're close to that time limit. I still think there's a little bit more time than that. But there is always a possibility that we could get to that point, and that's where things could get really, really interesting here. But for the moment, excuse me as I catch my breath here, Jaden Hopp, Nicholas Corcel are going to be up in the front row on this restart. Howie Briss, Benjamin Lacey in the second row, and Sean Williams and Nathan Gutierrez going to be in that third row, although that's not who's currently up there. Scott Shire is currently in that third row. So I'm a little confuzzled, but we're just going to go with it. So either way, either how, we're coming down the back straightaway. And Gareth, we're going to come out of 3 and 4, and why don't you take us back to green?
I will do my best. Lindsay saying cautions breed cautions. I shouldn't have read that out loud because now it's probably going to happen. But I certainly hope not, Lindsay. As yeah, Dawn Hilbrain's saying that she likes to chat with us, and we appreciate it as well because it gives us more to talk about. So I'm sure I don't have to say on behalf of Mason because I'm sure he agrees with me as well on that front. It's so much nicer when you have people to talk to, and even if you're not physically talking with me, I can still read the chat and say what's going on as we get ready to go back to green. Jaden Hop and Corcel are going to be side by side. Hop once again with a nice jump out in front. Really got that restart worked out. Corcel on the high side. Going to be checking up Benjamin Lacey, who's trying to pass Howie Briss on that outside lane. Wasn't able to do so, falling way back to Scott Shire all the way back there. As it looks like there are still two wide battles going all over the place, a little bit further back in the pack, but at the front at the moment, there is still going to be the lead cars, as it looks like Patrick Colby is just about to get in this mess with Koulibaly right in front. Tony Hilbrands is not too far ahead either as he passes around Scott Shire. That is not for position though, as Scott Shire is a few laps down, but these two have history in this particular race itself, exactly from where they are right now. So that should be interesting, as it looks like Lacey made his way around Howie Briss in the front rows as he is into third, and Mason tries to follow around with all the action that I'm trying to call. As my voice is disappearing, I'm gonna have to hand it over to you while I take a drink of water.
Yeah, this is quite a lot of action happening around the track at the moment, as we have 3 laps left to go here, and like Gareth mentioned, I'm scrambling to find all the action for you folks at home to make sure that we're covering the right battles here. But at the moment, Benjamin Lacey, Howie Briss continuing their fight here for third place, and Howie Briss trying to do everything that he can to put himself up on the podium and secure those points for the number 97 machine. Back in 8th place, Patrick Colby, along with Tony Hilbrands, fighting for 7th place at the moment. Hilbrands trying to hold off the number 9 machine as Colby tries to take it on the outside here, almost right on the bumper as they come out of turn 2 onto the back straightaway. Colby going to be down on the inside as we come through 3 and 4, taking it all the way down to the blue and white line here for Colby as he gets a good run out of turn 2. The white flag is out here. It is the final chance to dance here for all drivers here tonight, and Jaden Hop is only going to have a few more turns left to go before he takes it across the line for the win here tonight. Benjamin Lacey still having Howie Briss right on the tail. Let's see if Briss is going to make a move going into turns 3 here. Howie tries to make it happen, but Lacey sees it, throws the block, and out of turn 4 and across the checkered line, Hop, Corcel, and Lacey in that order, taking home your top 3, and Briss right on the tail of that number 7 machine. Almost had a chance to make it happen here for himself, but ultimately did not have the pace to make it happen, or at least did not have enough luck to make it happen this time around, as the rest of the field makes it across the checkered line, completing tonight's events. And Gareth, wow, 334 laps that we've seen here tonight. And for those of you who have stuck around all broadcast, first of all, how? Secondly, thank you.
How?
Yeah,
Nice.
Seriously though, thank you to everyone who's stuck around for this broadcast, everyone who's tuned in periodically throughout the race here tonight. It's truly great to see the level of support that we've seen from everyone here tonight, as Jaden Hop doing a very, very, very well-deserved celebratory burnout here on the checkered line here at Charlotte, as he's just going to burn the tires off right off of that thing. And you know what? Honestly, at this point, he's earned it. That was a heck of a race here for everyone involved, as we're going to go ahead and take a look at our post-race results and get ourselves ready for some post-race interviews.
Yeah, it looks like Jaden Hop is obviously celebrating in his own way. I mean, you know, he's a very reserved sort of driver, as we know. He doesn't show his excitement too much, so not burning it down as much as we expected, but I'm sure we'll hear from him in just a few moments as Nicholas Corcel and Benjamin Lacey take up the top 3. Howie Briss, Sean Williams rounding out our top 5. And yeah, we're gonna get ready for some interviews, like you said, and I guess you're going to pull them up into the booth in not too short an order.
Indeed. As Benjamin Lacey is going to be the first driver up here in the booth in the number 7 machine. Benjamin having quite a phenomenal race here tonight after being the highest mover and shaker in the field, moving up 11 spots from 14th up into 3rd place. Benjamin, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on your podium finish here tonight. A very, very demanding race that we had here at Charlotte, 500 miles in total, and a lot of strategy, a lot of racecraft being involved in tonight's race. Benjamin, you seemed rather calm, rather steady, and just looking for consistency throughout tonight's race. Not really putting yourself in a lot of risky situations. Just, again, like I said, just looking for that consistency throughout all 334 laps here tonight. Did you have any sort of practice coming into tonight, or was it just a matter of just putting yourself in the right mindset and just sending it?
Absolutely zero practice before tonight, actually. I don't really get a whole lot of time. I pretty much just get off work and then come in, get in maybe a couple minutes before qualifying at best. But yeah, just really just trying to keep the car clean, keep it consistent, conserve the tires, hopefully get those long runs, which worked out for us. We had, I think, 2-3 cautions at top, and 2 of them came at the end. So a lot of green flag runs, which I think played in my favor a little bit.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. It was definitely a great thing to see the number of long green flag runs that we had here tonight. Practically the entire race was filled with them, which was a really great thing to see. And having those couple cautions come in towards the end of the race there, did that have any sort of implications on your race and how you thought you might have finished here tonight? Or was it kind of a sigh of relief for you behind the wheel to have a chance to stack up with the rest of the field and have another chance for some battles before the checkered flag flew?
You know, it was kind of a mixed feeling because I feel like I had second pretty well locked up there if we would have gone green to the end. But then the caution did come out and restacked us all back up, so I felt like maybe I had a shot. I think if it would have gone green after that first caution, I might have been able to keep up and maybe give it a little bit of a shot. Seemed like I was kind of keeping pace with him there for a little while, and at the same time conserving the tires like what I was doing before. So the second one came out, and I saw he was going to stay out, so I said, let's go pit, and everyone came with, and then my pit crew decided to be turtles, and then I lost one, and then I think Nick took 2, so then I ended up 4th and had to fight for 3rd, and couldn't track him down after that.
Well, it sounds like you're going to have to do some adjustments to the pit crew down there, but Benjamin, you had a fantastic race here tonight, and looking forward into next week and in the future of the Cup Series here in 2023. Hopefully we get to be able to talk to you some more up here and be able to see more success for yourself in the number 7 machine. As tonight I think was a really, really great example of what you're capable of behind the wheel, of what your team is capable of, and hopefully get to see that momentum carry forward. Not only next week into Road Atlanta, but into the rest of the series. But before we let you go, do your celebrating and ultimately probably go collapse into bed or into a comfy chair somewhere and relax. But Benjamin, the floor is yours. Who do you want to shout out and thank before you head out here tonight?
First and foremost, Filming the Wild, sponsor for me. Appreciate what they do. Give them a shout out, guys. YouTube.com/filmingthewild. They do a lot of documentaries behind the scenes of wildlife and nature, those type of things. So give them a check out, give them a shout out. You guys here in the booth, it's always fun to go back and watch you guys. You guys have a good chemistry as a duo, and I think you guys do put on a fantastic broadcast to watch. And Tony and the admins of the league, appreciate what they do, and all the sponsors that go with them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Benjamin, for joining us up here in the booth for, I think, the second time this season, and again, hopefully get to talk to you some more throughout the rest of the season, and hopefully next week heading to Road Atlanta.
Yes, good to talk to you guys.
Absolutely. You have a good one. Alrighty, folks, so that was Benjamin Lacey taking home 3rd place here tonight. And as we move on to our next interviewee, Nicholas Coruscant, I'm going to hand it off to Gareth McAllister here as we bring Nicholas up here into the booth. And Nicholas, before I hand you off over to Gareth here, congratulations on your podium. A great 2nd place finish here for yourself tonight. And just want to mention, love the paint scheme on that 45 machine here tonight. That color scheme is just mint. Love it.
Appreciate it.
All right, well, I guess it's my turn. Thanks, Mason. About time. So I'm gonna start off by saying, Nick, welcome to the booth, and g'day, mate. And I wanted to ask you, first of all, how is that transition between day and night treating you? Because you were so loose during the day, but at night it seemed like you picked something up.
It was more or less just figuring out the long run on these cars. Because normally we do pretty short runs, so figuring out the long one was hard, and it did get really tight at the end there in turn 3 and 4. So you had to brake a lot more than what you were in the beginning of the daytime. I just wanted to save tires the entire time, try to run it out of gas every single time. That's all I was trying to do.
All right, well, I mean, we heard from Dawn Hillbrands, who actually was letting me know, and I know this is a little bit more about me than you, but she was letting me know that she sent me some Sour Patch Kids. Is there something that I should get ready for? Like, just how sour are they?
They're pretty brutal. Takes a little bit to get used to them. Got to kill a few taste buds, but you'll enjoy them after a while.
All right, sounds like something I should probably prepare myself for. I wasn't expecting that, but hey, if they're that strong now, I'm a little bit worried. But I'm looking forward to it anyway. And you've become basically a cult icon with those paint schemes now. I'm so used to seeing you in the black. What brought on the original paint scheme back?
Actually, all of us were sitting in Discord last week or the week before, and everybody was discussing about how many black cars we had on the track. And we're like, somebody needs to change it up. And they always make fun of Aaron for running the yellow, and Sour Patch Kids bag is yellow, so I decided to go with it.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, I really like the scheme. So does everyone else in the chat. Everyone was saying how great it looked, and yeah. Plus, I guess we should talk at least a little bit more about the racing. So, how was it for you starting on that restart? You had the high line, but you weren't quite able to catch up with Hop. Did you have just a little bit of wheel spin trying to get off the line in those final 2 cautions?
The second to last restart, I absolutely just spun my tires so bad, with shifting into 3rd gear. So I learned a little bit from that. I wanted to get out second, so I took 2 tires when the other guys took 4. That last stop that we did didn't help any because we only had 1% of our tires worn. But I learned a little something on that outside. I knew I wasn't going to catch Jaden. That wasn't the whole purpose. Purpose was trying to stay in front of Howie. Me and him battled all night. I didn't even think I was going to stay in front of Benjamin. He was so fast on the front. But they got battling and let me have the position. So we'll take a second place any night.
All right, sounds good. So, and finally, anyone you'd like to shout out to for this fantastic 2nd place spot that really, I mean, you worked very hard for and definitely deserved?
Appreciate everybody in the league. That was so much fun running green flag that long. And appreciate you guys in the booth, Tony for running everything, all the people that watch. I see the same name in the chat every single time I go back and watch it and all that. It's so much fun to race with these guys. And of course, thanks to my Mountain Dew and Sour Patch Kids that let me make it through this race. It was brutal.
All right, sounds good. And we will see you up here in the booth, I'm sure, in short order, because you definitely had some pace and you're showing us that you're one of the top contenders here in this league in the next few races, I reckon. So it'll be good to see you here at Road Atlanta in a bit, and have a good night.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys.
Alrighty, folks. Nicholas Coruscant taking it out of the booth here for 2nd place here tonight. And last and certainly not going to be least here, Jaden Hopp, the man of the hour, the 4th-time back-to-back winner here in the booth once again for yet another win. Jaden, you are on a hot streak and starting to develop a bigger and bigger target on your back as every week passes by. Jaden, I mean, you've been on an absolute wrecking path here and have been dominating every race that you've gone to. Really, the biggest question that I have for you, what do you expect to do next week at Road Atlanta, and do you hope to come away with a W for next week's race?
Oh, with how fast Aaron and Nathan are at the road courses, I'm probably just hoping for like 3rd or top 5 or something like that.
Well, Jaden, I mean, it was incredible to watch you the past 4 races, but also tonight being the first full-length race of the season, and also coming away with a little bit of extra cash in your pocket. I know me and Gareth kind of didn't really talk about that as the race went on, because we really didn't get to see a whole lot of Crown Jewel drivers competing for the lead here, because you were just absolutely crushing it here tonight. But that's also going to mean that you're going to come away $50 richer, and that's just going to be a great feeling for yourself. But Jaden, being just dominating the championship as you currently are, what's your goals for the next few weeks here before we really start to see the championship start to really be determined? I guess not necessarily determined, but really start to shape up here.
Well, I'm just hoping for good points finishes. Like, hopefully not. Well, hopefully as good as I have been lately, but if not, oh well, as long as they're good points finishes, I don't really care.
Absolutely. Well, Jaden, before I let you go here and before you do any celebrating here tonight, anyone you want to shout out, anyone you want to thank before you go here tonight?
I'd like to shout out you guys for putting on a great broadcast, and Tony for putting on a great league. And then I'd like to shout out my family for watching the entire race.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for joining us up here in the booth tonight, Jaden. I know it's probably as late for you as it is for me. Gareth is all the way on the other side of the planet, so he doesn't count. But on behalf of both of us, thank you for joining us up here in the booth, and congratulations on your 4th win here in the VRL Cup Series.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a great night. Alrighty, folks. Jaden Hopp coming out of the booth here with the win once again. 4-time back-to-back winner, the number 81 driver, just dominating the opening few races of this season. And right now it is currently 11:30 at night here for myself, and I think that is actually going to have to conclude our broadcast for tonight, as it is very late for myself at the moment. But I want to thank each and every single one of you who has tuned in here tonight, who has enjoyed the broadcast. And if you have enjoyed the broadcast, if you aren't already subscribed, make sure you get subscribed. Hit the like button if you haven't already, if you enjoyed what you saw. And make sure you get yourself tuned in for next week's race at Road Atlanta, as we tackle 250 kilometers there at Road Atlanta, and we get ourselves ready for some more road course racing. Same time, same place, as always, right here on the Team Goon Squad channel, bringing you the action as always. My name is Mason Heimbaugh, joined alongside me, Gareth McAllister, and on behalf of both of us and Team Goon Squad, we thank you all, and we will see you all next week.